Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 131. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I am Sean Whalen, Dr. Norge on the CGS forums, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim. Picture a rabid dog in a cage. Now throw a bratty little neighborhood bully poking him with a stick. He keeps doing it over and over. Passers-by tell him to stop. He says something colorful and goes back to doing it. But you know he's never going to get his. But in Secret 6, they toss the bully in the cage. And I'm not sure what it says about me, but I love that so much. So says the sensei of the whatnot, Segulin.
How's it going, eh?
I have issues.
Dude, you do have issues.
Well, I read Secret 6 times.
Yeah.
Just for fun. So I think it's messing me up. This week's episode, Jim and I are going to be talking about Secret 6 number 1, big shock. We're going to be finishing up our discussion on Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters with issues 5 through 8. We have listener voicemails. That's right, Jim. We have a voicemail line now. This week, we were talking about it on the way back from PA, and I said I'd love to test it out and experiment with it, and we posted it in the forum, and I threw it real quickly up on the website, but I was really throwing it into the forum as kind of a test run. The voicemail number for the show, if you want to participate, is area code 440-388-4434. That's 440-388-4434, and the number's right at top of RagingBullets.com. So if you go right to the website, you're going to see it right up there, so you don't necessarily need to even write it down. Just go get it from there. And thank you to we got 6 of them already, and I didn't even announce it on the show yet, so it was like in 2 days. All of a sudden, people started participating in that, so I'm excited for that. We are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network and the League of Comic Book Podcasts. We're continuing to support the Hero Initiative, which is helping the creators of yesterday with a financial safety net for emergency medical aid, financial support for the essentials of life, and an avenue back into paying work. It's a chance for all of us to give something back to the people who have given us so much enjoyment. Visit their website, www.heroinitiative.org, or call 310-909-7809. Our sponsors for this episode are DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. On the forum, Jim, I don't know if you saw it, Young Liars. There's a challenge on there for readers to try out Young Liars. They have the Young Liars trade by David Lapham, art and cover by David Lapham. From the creator of Stray Bullets comes this rip-roaring, hardcore urban adventure comic. When young Sadie gets a bullet lodged in her brain, it sets her group of friends on an insane ride where nothing is what it seems, featuring an introduction by rock star and Eisner Award winner Gerard Way. And it's 144 pages, regularly $9.99, 50% off, only $4.99. So an easy jump-on point to try out Young Liars if you haven't. That's a great book.
Yeah, that is just a really fun, weird, kooky kind of read that is definitely... It's a different type of style. It's a different read-through. It has elements of realism to it, but it also still kind of has a little bit of out there that you'd like to know some of these people, some you wouldn't like to know. It is a hard description, but it's a fun read, though.
I like the way it kind of jumps you into the story.
Oh, definitely.
And we gradually, through flashbacks, find out the mystery of what happened with Sadie and her boyfriend and how that all wound up being the case. It's a very twisted story with not just Sadie and her boyfriend, but the whole cast of characters are, the typical unique, quirky characters with some mystery edge to it. There's mob. I mean, there's just, you name it, it's in this book. But, I mean, $4.99, you can't go wrong. Is this a monthly read for you, Jim, or is this a trade read?
This is still a monthly. I'm still getting this on monthly. So yeah, it's one of those where I can't go to trades with it yet because I'm enjoying it too much. When the comic comes out, this is a palate cleanser for me. This is a great breakup when I'm reading all superhero comics to read some stuff. Then boom, go to this. It's a nice just addition to the collection.
Is that what makes you decide on a Vertigo trade if you're saving the arcs? And just kind of reading them that way, you just kind of naturally transition over to a trade?
Usually if I've had a monthly where I haven't gone to it, and I'm like, oh, okay, I got to get on these, and I have 4 or 5 issues saved up, I'm like, okay, right here is a trade. So if I can wait this long, I can wait that, and then it's going to the trade. But right now, I'm not at the point where I can wait for Young Liars. I do need my breakup.
This is one that I saw, Jim. It's the DC Library Superman Kryptonite Nevermore hardcover. It's offered at a special discount, and this one I'm picking up for sure. It's 192 pages. It collects Superman 233 to 238 and 240 to 242. It's a huge story about Superman where it's by Denny O'Neil, art by Kurt Swan and Murphy Anderson, cover by Neil Adams. This is the story published in 1971. It turned Superman's status quo, on end. Kryptonite was destroyed. There was no more kryptonite. So Superman no longer had that weakness to deal with, which I'm anxious. I've never read these issues. So now to be able to get it in a nice, this is a new program they're doing, this DC Library program, to be able to get this major arc in this format, I'm loving. And Neil Adams stuff seems to be, the DC work of Neil Adams hardcover I know is coming out sometime soon, and they had those 3 Batman hardcovers. So for me, and I've got the Dead Man one, so it's nice now I got this. I'm going to have like all of anything, anything from that era. I mean, Neil Adams did the cover on this one, and it's Kurt Swan, but it seems to be this 70s era. This era of Batman and Superman and all that is now being collected in these cool hardcovers. And I hope they go back and do this with some of the other major runs from that era, because there was some really cool stuff in the 70s. This is regularly $39.99, 50% off only $19.99. Whatever your shipping preferences, whatever your bag and boarding preferences, DCB service accommodates your collecting needs. In Stock Trade's Book of the Month for September, 7 Soldiers of Victory, Volume 3. Mr. Miracle, 1 and 2. Zatanna, 4. Clarion the Witch Boy, 4. Bulleteer, 1 and 2. And Frankenstein, number 1. And they're all collected in the order they were released, so that way you can read them that way and kind of collect and read the overarching storyline. It's regularly $14.99. They're supporting us at 47% off, only $7.94. So if you haven't picked that one up, please visit InStockTrades.com and grab that. Secret 6 Degrees of Devastation. We're talking about Secret 6 this episode. This collects the original 6-issue miniseries spinning out of Villains United. Villains.
Billions.
The Villains United. Regularly $14.99, 37% off, only $9.44. In this episode, we're going to tell you why Secret 6 is so cool and why you should pick up this trade if you haven't already. InStockTrades.com is your source for your collected edition needs. Thank you for supporting us, DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Visit RagingBullets.com. Show updates. I started putting up contest entries. I've got a couple new bullet points in. There's new Where's What Not Nows up there. There's a new column up there. So if you actually check out the column section, we've got a brand new column. I'm going to keep posting stuff up gradually now. I was waiting until I completely finished updating the website, and that's taking me forever because I'm back at work now, so I have no time. So I'm gradually working on redoing the website a little bit to kind of clean things up. It's going to look basically the same on the surface for the listeners, but it's going to be easier for me to update. But I always update DC release dates and show news and things like that, so there's something up there. Usually a couple times during the week I'm updating the website with information, so definitely check out the site. Check out some of the contest entries which are going up. Please join us for the contest. Review a comic, write an article, create a banner, Where's What Not Nows, comic strips, even show audio comments. Anything that comes to mind, send them to ragingcontest@gmail.com. I'm really flexible with new ideas, so just shoot me an email if you got an idea. That blog came from just an email being shot at me. Hey, I got an idea, I want to blog. Can I blog on the website? So I threw that in the columns section. It's really cool. It's already Mart from the forums read it, and he was really into it, so it's nice to see that some of the listeners are already checking that stuff out as I update it on the website. So that kind of feedback is great. Jim, what kind of a podcast are we?
Well, we are a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth in a plotline, story twist, and whatnot of the comics we're reviewing. So if we're going over something you haven't read, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
And next week we're going to have our Top Bullet segment. We were going to do it this week, and we started getting all of our notes together and getting the notes together for Uncle Sam, which is a very dense read.
Yes.
So we decided to move Top Bullets to next week, and it will be next week for sure. So
if you haven't submitted, you still have time to submit your top 5, top 3, top 1, title that you're gushing about. Maybe say a little something about why this is your top pick. I will total it with the other ones that I've already received, and we'll throw out a total massive top 5 list from our give ours.
And we're going to do July's and August books. So anything from July and August. So anything before the first week in September is eligible. So any of the books you've been reading, check them out. And I'm curious to see what the listeners come up with, because there was a lot of powerful reads the last couple months out there. So I'm really anxious to talk about some of the things that we were enjoying.
And top bullets should be sent to senseiofwhatnot@gmail.com. That's senseiofwhatnot@gmail.com.
Jim, let's go ahead and jump right into Secret Six #1.
Holy caffeine!
Jim, our first review this episode is going to be a Secret Six #1. The writer is Gail Simone. The penciler is Nicholas Scott. The inker is Doug Hazelwood. The letterer is Swans. The colorist is Jason Wright. And the editor is Nachi Castro. Oh my God. This is my new favorite monthly.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's action-packed. Great, well-rounded characters. Edgy, gorgeous art. Fantastic colors. It's everything I loved about the team's run on Birds of Prey, but without a leash. That, works with putting heroes in their place, but geez, these characters are wacky misfits, but also endearing in a way that you don't know if you should feel this comfortable making personal connection with. I want to put this book out over me like a blanket and hope that some of the comic-y goodness sinks in. I mean, it's very different, and that's what immediately grabs me. It's an instant top-of-the-stack read for me. When I read this one, I was really worried that in the sense that I've been anticipating this so much that I was going to have my expectations so high that I was going to be not disappointed, but I was going to be like, oh, it was an enjoyable read, and I'm happy about it. Again, Gail Simone, Nicholas Scott, Doug Hazelwood, the whole team. Ooh.
Yeah, it lived up to the hype, and just we've been grinning from ear to ear after the first time we read this, and just going, I can't wait to talk about it. Can't wait to talk about it, because it's just it's a fun, just. It's wrong, man. I tell you, it's just so wrong. And that's what I love about it.
But yet it's so right.
It's just, you think about it. One, we have a villains team. So you have bad guys already, but the bad guys have to fight somebody, so the bad guys they're fighting are just going to be that much more nastier. And we get a taste of the mega baddie in this, and I was just like, oh, this is going to get good.
Mr. Shelton won't be getting his foot out of this bear trap. He goes inside the nightclub to meet with Junior, who's basically to the Thing and Addams family what cell phones are to rotary phones. Well, that and he's just not a nice guy. Please help me. I don't want to die. Please, please. Listen, I don't even handle the food here. You want a drink for the long road? I'm your girl. Aaron and Tig are creepy-looking guys who play good thug, bad thug to Mr. Shelton. They reassure him that Junior likes him, but we all know where this is going. I loved the build, from putting on the blindfolds because Junior has never been seen, to prepping the tape recorder, which takes cruelty to a new level. Shelton stole some of Junior's property, and I mean, it's just, he makes him beg to have his wife and daughters die instead, but kills him anyway just so he can get it on the tape recorder to taunt him with. I'm just like, when they were announcing you got the tape recorder ready, well, it's all digital now. I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Great stuff. This sequence is all the more powerful from the work of Nicholas Scott and Doug Hazelwood. Dude has his fingers up his nostrils as Shelton is pulled into the crate. The shift from timid fear to sheer horrified intensity is just so brilliantly laid out here. And the colors in this one, there was something about the colors. It just had a lot of energy to it. It set tone and mood. It changed from location to location in such a way. I'll talk a little bit more later when they get into the Africa sequence, how, the sun haze was actually laid out. I mean, this is just a beautiful book.
I gotta tell you, I love the henchmen. I absolutely love those guys, because they already, within the short period of time, we already have a glimpse into their own little quirkiness. They have their own personality. They're not just generic Thug 1, generic Thug 2. No, they have a personality. The one guy's like, oh, don't worry, man. I've heard him say all the time how much he likes you. Hasn't Mr. Sheldon, hasn't he said that? To be honest, I just try to keep from soiling myself whenever I hear him speak. So, and I was just like, oh, cool.
I love how their coats make them look like creepy game show hosts.
Yeah.
Guess what's behind crate #1?
Painful death.
Yeah, it was great. Blake and Lawton are classic buddy crook. They play off of each other so well, and basically what was it, poachers? Is that what Blake took out?
That had to be that had to be poachers, and it was just, I want to know what he did to them, though.
Well, they show you in this.
He didn't just kill them. He marked them.
Yeah.
How did he mark them?
What do you mean, how did he mark them? With his claws, dude.
Okay, no. What did he mark up?
Oh, probably quite a bit, dude.
I'm thinking there's probably...
Dude was scarred from what he did, so whatever he did, they probably look like, a jigsaw puzzle now. I don't know. He didn't kill him.
No, and that's. But I think there's for a man, there's some things worse than death, and that's what I think he did to them.
Oh, maybe.
That's what I was getting at. I'm thinking he.
I'm thinking he did a whole bunch. I don't think it was one thing. I think he did a whole bunch of stuff to them. I love the colors in that full-page shot. As I was mentioning, the haze of sunlight over the African landscape is just gorgeous. The look on Catman's face, almost like he's in animal mode at this stage.
Even before that sequence with coloring, just when they're driving in the car, this rain effect. I don't know if that's penciling, inker, or color, who does it, but that is just a cool looking sequence as we see the car driving down. You got the puddles, obvious, and things, but even in the air, it's just like it was the rain. I don't know. I was sitting there, I was like, oh, that's a cool looking picture,
well,
man.
From talking to colors, it's a combination of all of it coming.
Yeah, so that was just I got to give kudos on that whole panel of the pages. And as you're going down, you're seeing, you're seeing Catman just sit there, and he's got like a little bit darker tint around his eyes, and there's just that anger, and just it affected and touched him, and you're just like, oh, what'd he do? What happened, man? It's
Lawton doesn't get it, and this leads to a debate about Catman's growing concern over his lack of morality, wanting to drop this lifestyle. I found myself checking out the background art a great deal. The Booster Gold soda poster outside the grab-and-go. I don't know about you, Jim, but later in the issue we see a magazine rack where Bam Bam Magazine, which I know you have subscribed to since you were a wee lad, was so prominently displayed. What the hell? From analogies to try and connect with Floyd, girl lying in the street. Would you stop to help her? Well, I wouldn't go out of my way to run over her intentionally, if that's what you're asking. This is an interesting debate. Are villains the way they are because they are evil? Is something missing that makes them that way? Is there a treatment to it, even? Does that vary from villain to villain, which is what I think. I think that depending on their issues.
Yeah,
these guys all have some serious issues that are very varied.
There's the degrees of nastiness, and we're seeing just within this team alone, some are more hero-oriented, some are more pure villain-oriented, some are just motivated by money. It's not about hurting people or helping people, it's about the paycheck. This is a job. There's nothing personal, just business. And that is one of the cool factors of Secret Six, in that it is this wide variety of reasons why they're there. They're not just there all for the same reasons. They have their own personal agendas, their own personal beliefs and whatnot. So these are definite people. These are characters. And it's just
well-rounded. And they're extremes. It's funny, you can connect with them on the level that a lot of what they're doing is to extremes, and you can connect with some of the emotion behind it. We've all done something wrong and questioned it. No matter how much we could justify it one way or another, we've questioned it. And that's where, Catman comes in. Then you've got Floyd, where he just justifies anything he does as, you know what? They would have been dead anyway.
Yeah.
And that type of stuff and scandal, with just the brutal loss. Who hasn't felt a loss in a relationship? Hers is obviously to a major extreme, but we've all felt that at some point in time. So these characters are really easy. And Jim, I know you're a contortionist. So... And there's many times where you get me to throw up. I'm sorry. I went to the contortionist thing and I'm like, oh, yeah, well. Catman certainly does have a sense of justice, though, and we saw that in previous offerings with them, where we see them, all of a sudden turn around and do something that you're like, well, geez, that is borderline heroic, and I like that vibe. I don't get that they're heroes, I don't feel that, but, there's a certain sense of morality that varies from each of them.
He has a sense of honor.
Yeah,
and
that's a good word for it.
He definitely has his own code. Just like when, they beat up the skinheads, he has no problem with it. He's like, oh, okay, whatever. Even lets them take the money and the cigarettes because, okay. But he's not going to leave them to torture, murder, rape, and kill the shop clerks because that's just too much. That's crossing the line.
But he was going to, though, up until Floyd pointed out to him that, dude, you're leaving the witnesses there and all that with the whole Justice League thing, and he ran back in, and that's where he did it.
I don't know. I think he was, planning on it anyways. I don't think he was ever really going to leave him completely. but it was just one of those things where he was just delaying it. You know, he was trying
he
to
wasn't
fight
delaying it, dude. He look back at that sequence. He was like, uh-oh, and went back in. He was totally in the zone. And wait, he was in the zone of the conversation. So I think, which is kind of the key to them, they're totally oblivious a lot of times to the things that are going around them and into their own concerns. I'm not saying, wait, the second he realized it, I totally agree with you. There was no hesitation. He ran right back in. So there is that element of him. But at that moment, that was the funny part. He was out walking, and the two of them were so in their big debate that he was oblivious to anything going on around him. We flash to Junior. And Junior wants them to take Shelton's remains, decorate his house with them. He wants his kids to find them first, and the tape or digital whatever to be found first. But then he orders the dog dead too. You know, if I'm delivering a pizza to Junior's, it will be there in 30 minutes or less, or I'm sending you.
Oh, gee, thanks, Well.
I love that.
Welcome to the episode where Sean repeatedly throws me under the bus. What the hell? Thanks, pal.
Hey, I'm in the zone for Secret Six. I'm vying to be the 7th member. Or the 6th, because you know that somebody's going at some point. Because it just seems to happen with this team. I love the visual reaction of Aaron and Tig as Junior plans to don a costume and help them recover the object. They're clearly uncomfortable. You know, and I like that. These are two big, bad thugs. They look big. They look big. Against Shelton, they looked like they were seriously packing some serious shoulders and muscles. And, these are two guys that can handle themselves. They were wearing blindfolds and were clearly nervous that this guy who normally doesn't like to be seen is now coming out with them. I liked the intimidation factor set up with this guy, with what he did to Shelton, and then the fact that even these two poor guys are intimidated by this fella. We have seen nothing yet with Junior. I'm clear on that.
Oh, God, yeah. And I'm just eagerly anticipating it just because of, knowing the level it's going to go. This is the beginning of it. This isn't the extreme. No. We're going to see, this thing is going to go. And I'm just like...
Wait, in many ways, this is the prologue.
Yeah.
Because they haven't even picked up the prize yet.
Right.
Dave and everyone else in the store are terrified of the robbers, but not Floyd and Blake. That tells you how bad they really are. They carry on their philosophical debate, and Lawton throws Huntress in Blake's face. The old, "You are just doing this due to the sexy girl." Personally, I think it's the closest thing you can get to doing it with Batman. And just, he's digging in it. And I love that because it's like two friends jabbing each other. And I so related to that. I'm like, it's you and I do this kind of junk to each other all the time. And I was like, okay, I'm getting, these are human, even though they go to these extremes and they're villains and all that, we are seeing a humanity to these guys. And that is immediately something that I'm having fun with.
For me, it was like seeing old friends that like it's over summer vacation. This is the first time back, and you see them. Yeah, maybe they're a little bit different, but they're still the same people. These are still the same two guys that we saw in Secret Six, we saw in Villains United. Mm-hmm. These are the same kind of guys. I was like, oh, okay, I like that. It's why one of the reasons I dig this was because of these characters. We're seeing right here, great rapport between the two of them. You could basically take almost any members of the Secret Six, put them either by themselves or into, a buddy cop moment, and you would have that great banter. You would have that same type of cool rapport going back and forth.
Especially considering how the beginning of their relationship was, where the two of them didn't like each other at all. So to see this kind of growth and familiarity between the two, but I'm never at any time convinced that these guys completely 100%, not just them, the whole team, completely 100% trust each other. And there's a segment later that we'll talk about where we see that kind of slapped into our face, that this isn't a superhero team. And that they trust each other tentatively. They're with this group because they know it's to their advantage. Together, they offer opportunities to be able to pull off some really big missions, but this is not the Flash Rogues. These are characters that are still wary of each other, and, even though they're comfortable, friendly, laugh and joke, there's still that we know that we're villains and could turn on each other at any point if the price was right.
Well, they even make the one comment where he says he may, what do you think about turning heroes? Like, I'm thinking about it. I hope you don't, because then I'd have to kill you.
Right.
And, in a way, maybe he's just joking around with him, But
Well,
I
also,
don't think
does he
so.
know too much about him?
Yeah,
That Floyd,
he knows. He knows. They probably. I would bet these two know the most about each other. They know they're running. Where their hideouts are, where they're how to find and track them down and whatnot. So, if any of these guys go hero, it will be very dangerous for the rest of the team.
Right. And they're totally irreverent with each other. But Blake is looking for advice, and what a horrible choice! It does make sense, though. He would consider, Floyd an equal, so they would be chatting that way. I love that when Floyd pauses for the convo for a minute, I knew where this was going. He'd finally acknowledged the robbery, and all I was thinking was, this is gonna be good. Because these two guys have just been totally bad, and, there's this whole mess going on around them, and completely ignoring, and I loved that. The House of Secrets finds Scandal still dealing with the grief over the loss of her girlfriend Knockout. This was hysterical as we see Bane for the first time, and I think he is a character that is ready to be defined again in the DCU, and I'm so glad he's here, because he's either been underused or, kind of misused, and he's a character who I think is ripe for somebody to say, hey, let's really delve into the head of Bane and really define him as how he would fit on a team like this. And I'm glad to see him here. You mentioned that when we were in New York that you thought it might be Bane, and I was like, I don't know if it'll be Bane, and yeah, I'm so glad he's here.
Yeah, he's going to so fit into this team because you think about it, he's had his moments when he hasn't been completely evil. So he's had his gray area moments. And he's had his moments when you see him not just as this massive powerhouse, but you see him as this intelligent, calculated
had his
villain.
moments. That's how he started.
Right, yeah.
If you look back at Nightfall, this was a planned assault on Batman, when he took him down. So you've got those elements of him to pull from. And that's his roots. So it's interesting, and I like seeing him contemplative in this, where we see him a lot of times.
Yeah,
he's an interesting character.
You think about it, he's the new man on the team, so you're not going to jump in and make your presence known. You're going to sit back, you're going to study everyone, you're going to learn who is who, what is what. You got to know one what you're dealing with, what their strengths, what their weaknesses are. Maybe he's planning on a takeover, maybe he's planning on a coup of the six. Or maybe he's planning on hanging back, using them for his own purpose. He may have a completely alternate plan going through his head right now. You don't know with this guy, and I love that about him.
She keeps vomiting. Normally I have to be naked to get that reaction. Ragdoll rocks.
I know. Dude, you gotta laugh just with him. And he's the comic relief, but he's not just thrown in. He is
very deadly.
Yeah.
And deadly on a freakish level. Because he's a contortionist, he can do all these strange things, and he likes that element of, the house creepy, and he's nuts. He is just plain out nuts.
Yeah, when we were talking about motivation before, his is because he's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
No two ifs, ands, or buts about it. Just because, yeah. But it makes for great reading, so I'm glad he's there.
Oh, he's fantastic. It's funny. This has elements of a lot of different team books, but, taken to a major extreme. He's kind of like Garth from Teen Titans, but with, no sense of morality.
Yeah.
Back at the store, Floyd is insulted by the amateur's use of the gun. He actually turned the situation into a lesson on how to pull off a robbery. Wait, not only did he take the money just on general principle in his eyes, but he took some smokes because David had lousy security.
Yeah.
This was I was like, yeah. Fantastic. It doesn't stop there. Catman announces he's going straight, like you said, and this is where we see them walking out, and reminds him about the witnesses. I'm a big fan of gradually feeding us motivation through flashbacks. And we see him ready to kill one of the skinheads when he remembers what happened in Africa and how he marked them. And that's where we got that image there. And I took that as he was going to kill the guy or hurt him, or I don't know. He was definitely going to, maybe not kill him, but he was seriously going to mess this dude up. I loved the ice cream being used as the weapon when he originally came in on the scene. He used the, basically, whipped it around and threw it right
like
up.
A bolo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, guess the Justice League are going to be calling you any day now, General Glory. and Floyd keeps teasing him, and I'm just like, oh. And when you broke all his teeth with your foot, I think I seen Captain Marvel do that once for charity, as I recall. Classic Gail Simone humor. It doesn't take away from the character and how dangerous he is, but the ride is much more enjoyable because of it. And I liked that she's really good at balancing humor. She did this in Birds of Prey, and this really for me is like a journey back home with what I loved about Birds of Prey. But it's like Birds of Prey had a cage around it because they were heroes, and now that can be knocked down completely because they're villains. You can go a whole lot of crazy, and we're seeing that here, and it fits these characters. And gotta comment on the overhead shot of the House of Secrets. Dark, creepy, moody. Loved all the tiny details and how it is crafted, and makes it look like it's got a ton of rooms and staircases, possibly with hidden passages, I don't know. But, looks like there's lots of nooks and crannies in that place. Lots of options to use them or not use them, depending on what you want to do storytelling-wise. But, it looks like a classic old horror house, used from DC's old horror line. And that's what's neat about it. It's got that classic look and feel to it. And the whole setting and the mood, from the roads in that picture to everything, it set a tone for being somewhere a little more classic. And that's what I really liked about it.
Yeah, this is definitely old world, old school type of big money housing, big money real estate and whatnot. It's it's a stately manor. I could see this actually put right next to Stately Wayne Manor, and fit in with that whole neighborhood and whatnot.
Typical Floyd, he's going to comment on the relationship choices of Scandal, and Bane is the straight man of the crew. Do not insult her. Love is complex. Now, if Bane is telling me not to do anything, yes, sir, Mr. Bane.
Oh, yeah.
This is not the puffed up, gooey Bane that we saw in the Batman movie. This is Bane.
Come on, don't mention it. I've been trying to block that out of my head for years, and just when I think it's out, you pull it back in.
Well, I'm convinced Shelton was on the inside of that Bane. Which leads me to believe that we're going to learn something about this man along the way, though, this Bane. I do like the respect for Scandal, and I like that this is the type of character that he's already analyzed her and realized there should be some respect given. Yeah, the cake bit with the knockout lookalike is just a bad idea on so many levels.
Dude, when I saw that, I was like, oh, dear God, that poor woman. All these very nasty stuff just started going through my head as to what is going to happen to her, and I was just like, oh no, oh no. I was a little intimidated to turn the page because I was like, this poor girl, I'm like, oh, this is... But when you finally do, and you see what happens, I was like, yes.
This does not seem morally defensible. Yeah, I was thinking that too. In a strange way, this worked, though. Horribly planned, almost led to a major fight, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Scandal with her blades out, Deadshot's arm at ready. I mean, he was tensing up. He was going to shoot her if he needed to. That's the thing about the Six. They're villains, trust to some degree. They're also wary, and that difference from the hero team is in 2 panels. I looked at that and I'm like, this is the difference. This is the tone. You can see in 2 panels, yes, they're buddies. Yes, they all laugh together. They do goofy things and all that. But at the end of the day, you make the wrong joke. You say the wrong thing. Someone could wind up dead.
Yeah, very easily. And it's funny because when they give her the girl, like, yeah, she's yours for the night, even if it gets unnatural. Which, kind of had me wondering, was he thinking, hey, even if you kill her, it's okay, just get it out, move on, kind of. And then I was like, was he actually thinking that was a good way to help her? Or I was like, whoa.
This is so nuts. My vote is she decided to forego the money versus taking some time to party with Ragdoll, but that's just me. Tarantula's serving time for murder, and they need to get her to Gotham. Along the way, they need to break her out of Alcatraz. This is going to be the huge action chase to get away from various bad guys, and I can't wait till the confrontation with Junior. Go ahead.
Yeah, I gotta say, just though, I love the fact that Scandal didn't gut her or kill her or any of that. And in a way, it was kind of a very big relief for me because, Scandal knocked on head just this passionate love. It wasn't just a girlfriend. This was, a soulmate.
Right.
And to lose her, it was just like that gut-wrenching, just beyond anything, I can tell you, beyond anything I've ever felt. I've broken up with people, I've ended relationships, but I guarantee you what I felt was nothing compared to what she felt. And just seeing her not lash out, not, take it to a very nasty way, to me is kind of like the little hopeless romantic in me saying, yes, see, true love can conquer stuff. It can conquer death. There's maybe even a chance, maybe Knockout will come back. Who knows what the future can hold for her, but there's still a piece of that love inside Scandal.
Oh, yeah.
There's still a bit of that, just that passion and that...
People live on through you. And that was cool when she had like that little dream sequence where she was hazed over and kind of saw, Knockout there. And the words were coming from Knockout, and she was talking about how she wasn't ready and all that. This was kind of her own way of healing herself in many ways. Not saying that she's done and through healing, because who knows if that ever really ends. But I did like that moment where it was kind of her chance. So in many ways, these idiots did sort of help her.
Yeah. And she even acknowledges, and she just looks at him and goes, idiots.
Yeah.
And, it's the beginning of the process. We're beginning to see Scandal once again back. And then in the briefing, you see her, boom, boom, boom. She's back to being command. She's back to being in the zone. And it's, yeah.
Can I just say that I love Nicholas Huntress and Batman? She's warning Blake about Junior and how potentially dangerous this mission is. But when you see those two... her in the fighting stance and all that. Yeah, sure, it takes me right back to Birds of Prey, but the Batman, too, I love Batman when he sticks to the shadows, and you kind of see how there's an advantage to the way his costume's set up with the cape and all that, where you can almost hide his face completely in the shadows, and that's where you see him look more supernatural. And I liked that look for him. It's why criminals fear him, because he makes his presence seem like he's some kind of demon beast instead of just being, a man. And that's where illusion plays into the role of Batman so much, and I love that. It's, the classic Batman look, and it's so well done in this. And just the relationship between him and Huntress, from back when they were on Justice League together, to her appearances in his book back in that era, and just how they've always had this kind of I don't want to say love-hate relationship. It started off that way, but she clearly deep down wants his approval, yet at the same time he is so rough on her.
Oh yeah, and I tell you, to see Batman, I don't want to say worried, but he is concerned about what's coming to Gotham. Mm-hmm. He knows it's a bloodbath is coming, and we're all going to get our hands dirty. I just want to know what's on that card.
Oh yeah.
What did she and I'm assuming that the Tarantula is the person that Shelton helped steal from Junior and all that.
Because they said the Tarantula has the card, and the card that she has is what everyone's after. So Tarantula's the one they're transporting. Well, do you know who Tarantula is? Did you read her in Nightwing at all? Did you read that run?
No.
Okay, yeah, Tarantula was in Nightwing for a long stretch, and because of murder and things like that, she got wound up in jail. So this is like spinning out of a Nightwing story. You don't need to read that to understand this. It's just that's Tarantula, that all spun out of that. So it's interesting to see this character now. It was a cool choice of a character to use. You don't need to know who she is, just that she murdered somebody, and they tell you that in this story. But it was neat for me. I'm like, oh, there's Tarantula. It's a good choice.
Yeah, plus, I'm looking forward to the sixth member they're going to pick up in Vegas.
Who this sixth member is, what the MO is. It's originally created character for this series, which means, and wait, just the line, poor judgment, but means well. The team is going to be nuts each month. This is right up my alley. Has all the makings of what are they going to do next.
Yeah.
And I love that kind of storytelling. That's for me. And big money, dirty money, always means trouble. The hit is out, and the Six are going to have to face some dark competition to achieve their goal. It's going to be good and ugly, and I'm on the edge of my seat. The stolen item that she has for a prize has them running on like a cannonball run through Gotham. Yeah. Like off the chart. It's like Death Race 2000 meets Cannonball Run. With a little bit of The Godfather thrown in. I don't know.
This has got it all in there. And looking forward to seeing how they break her out of Alcatraz, because it's going to be, it's not, I don't think it's just going to be something simple. It's got to be something big, but, once again, they do have Bane on the team. So they do have that resource to pull from. I'm
Oh,
wondering
sure.
if he's going to be, fundamental in the actual planning phase, or if they got another plan out there.
We got a contortionist, too.
Yeah. Who knows what he's? Oh God, yeah. It's,
Yeah, I mean, so you got all kinds of options on how you can, and I mean, who's to say it's going to be one person? This type of thing, obviously it's going to be a squad. It's going to be a hit. I'm sure it's going to be a multi-phased takedown of the facility.
Yeah.
It's going to be, this person's going to be doing this person's going to be doing that. They're going to use all of their resources to their advantage because obviously there was already talk of the intimidation of that place, which to me, I'm like, oh yeah, nice, very nice setup. But the great thing about Gail Simone's setup issues are, we did a little prologue here. There was so much action, story, and adventure, and humor, and character development in this issue that really was a prologue to the big story because they don't even have her yet. They don't even have her yet.
Yeah, this is just the beginning of it. Yeah.
Sets up the Blake Batman fight, which I can't wait to see. That meeting next. It's got to be a fight between the two, which is going to have to be awesome. The art. What more can I say about it? I've read this 6 times already, just for fun, not for the show, for fun. It was just a fun read. It's the most sincere compliment I can give a book. Any book that I read over and over again, just because I'm like, I want to read it again. And that's really genuinely what it was. I didn't need to, I'd already had my notes. I just kind of like, hey, let's just kind of delve into this and enjoy it. And this was just an enjoyable read.
I know, and I've already bought 2 copies of it. I almost bought a third because I got to wait a couple days for my shipment on for DCBS. But if things hadn't been crazy on Wednesday, I would have gone out and I would have bought a third copy
just to have it.
Yeah, I was just so gung ho to have this in my hands. So I'm like, yes.
Oof.
I know.
This is why I love her work.
Yes.
This is exactly why I love her work. I feel like I did when she started Birds of Prey again, because I know this is going to be a series, and we're going to see, this is only the beginning. And I'm like drooling over that. I might buy a copy to laminate just for the drool. But it was a great issue.
Hey, Sean and Jim. This is Dave, Simulated Stereo on the forums, calling from Gyeongju, South Korea. I'm just calling right now just to test the voicemail because you asked us to do so. And hope it works okay, because this would be really, really good thing to have on the show. I could talk for hours, but I probably won't. Anyway, guys, take care. I love the show. It's my single favorite podcast, the one I look forward to the most. And take care. I'll see you guys later. Bye.
This is exactly why I wanted to do this, to be able to easily get listeners into the show. And so what I did is I posted in the forum and I said, hey, can you guys test this thing out for me real quick? Because I said, I don't know if this is going to work or not. Well, obviously it did. I'm really excited for this. Because a lot of times on the show, we've just had a problem time-wise getting to emails, forum comments, and stuff like that. So I wanted to find easy ways to get people involved in the show. And this is it. Because what I can do is, a lot of times if we can't necessarily respond to every single one that we get, I can start putting a lot of these in the blooper reel instead of some of the other nonsense that we put in there. And just to me, that is going to be the fun part. Is I want listeners back involved in the show. Audio comments are sometimes hard for people. We're going to have a BK's Bullets on here, which is that's not an audio comment, that's a segment. Brent actually does a well-produced segment, so there's a little bit of a difference there. But this is great for somebody who just wants to shout something out. You're going to see with some of the other ones that we got already that's what this is all about. So please feel free to participate and use this. I will find ways to toss these into the show, even if it's at the end of the episode where we can close out and just have listeners shouting out things that they want to chat about. I think this is going to be a great way to get you guys involved in every episode of the show, which is my hopes from this. So, very cool.
Mothman.
Hey, Sean and Jim, it's Ian, testing out your lovely little voicemail system here. Glad to see you guys got another way to get in touch with everybody on the show. So just thought I'd say, first off, it was nice seeing you guys at the Super Show this past weekend. Hope you got home safe. Hope Jim didn't freak out on bridges nearly as much as he did on the way there. But, oh wait, never mind. He was in the passenger seat, so bridges can't hurt him when he's in the passenger seat. I forgot that. Do you guys have like a protective bubble that you stick Jim in also so that doesn't happen? All right. I'm being silly. So, let's see. What comic book can I rant and rave about? Well, actually, I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to mention one of the things that I got at Super Show that I was very happy to get. A lot of people have comic books that they can relate to their childhood, and I was able to pick up at Super Show in the 40-cent bins that Sean Pryor of PKD Media had set up. I was able to get Young Justice #1. Now, I actually never owned Young Justice #1. I first didn't really start getting into Young Justice until about halfway through the run, so I'm missing these early issues. I'd love to be able to make my own collection one of these days, but I'm sure they're never really going to make any trades of the series, as they keep on saying over and over and over again at cons. So I guess this is my start of being on the way. So I'm very happy to have this issue. It's the start of what is, in essence, now the Teen Titans. I mean, a lot of the members of that team moved on to the Teen Titans in Jeff Johns' run, and they're still the founding members of this current team, with Wonder Girl and Robin still being on the team. And I think Goon Boy is still in it and stuff like that. And obviously, we've got Arrowette retired now, and Spoilers around, but I don't think she shows up until a little later, and Impulse and all that. So, yeah, it'll be nice and fun to sort of get my 90s kick out of this issue and go back to days gone by. Anyway, I think I've been rambling long enough, so just wanted to yet again say thanks for seeing you, and I will hopefully see you in February for New York Comic Con. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
And Ian's with the Comic Timing podcast, so if you haven't been listening to that, definitely check out Comic Timing. Young Justice #1. Have you read Young Justice? What is your background with that? I know you love those characters.
It's one of those where I have it on my list of stuff to buy that I've never bought yet. And I want to get it, and I keep saying, when I'm at a con, I'll do my con run, and the last couple cons we've gone to, I haven't had a chance to sit down and look for it. I'm very upset that #1 was sitting right there for 40 cents, but oh well, I will eventually get my hands on it. And that's one of the things where I'd like to get my hands on it, and just so I have the full run.
Because most of them are your Titans.
Yeah, those are my Titans, and it's the early stuff with them. It's the build of the team that I really like, so it's like... you would think that I would have run out and just knocked over little old ladies to get to these things already, and I haven't for some reason. And
what comic shops do you go to that you got to knock over little old ladies to get to them?
Okay, symbolic little old ladies, meaning I didn't want to say knock over little children, because every time I talk about that,
do you feel like
get mad at me.
Do you feel like you need to knock over little old ladies to get to the shop, though? Is that like part of the process? Or?
Hey, if I need by any means necessary, man. If I need to, I'll drop kick, someone in my way.
That's your
for
dedication.
My comic. Yeah,
that's right. You just take it one step further than most would.
Yeah, I'm a little bit hardcore.
That's right. That just shows that you care more.
Yeah.
Jim, before we actually jump into the segment on Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters, I want to talk about the Batman Arkham Asylum game. Dude.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be like an over-the-shoulder, mostly Batman perspective, where you actually get to play as Batman, looking over his shoulder and controlling him that way. But it looks like there's going to be some shifts in perspective, too. But that style has worked so well for the Resident Evil games in the recent years. It's a lot more intuitive, and to be able to use Batman's gadgets and things like that. But the artwork in it's done by Wildstorm. There's a lot of the concept art was done by Wildstorm. And it's going to be published by IDOS. And it just looks incredible. Killer Croc's in it, the Joker, Harley Quinn. I mean, they have just a ton of Mr. Zsasz. I mean, it's going to be just an interesting array of villains. The story arc for it is written by Paul Dini. I mean, this is going to be one. This isn't based on the movie. This is a comic-based game. And it's real edgy. There are a lot of cool superhero games. I'm glad to see DC games starting to come out, though. Marvel's had some great games. Ultimate Alliance, most recently, has been great, and they're doing a sequel to that. There's Lego Batman coming out, which I like that because it's going to be kind of an all-ages fun thing, and I've got Lego Star Wars, the complete saga, and the Lego Indiana Jones. So the Lego Batman thing, I've already pre-ordered. I'm going to play that game right away. But this is going to be great because it's a DC Universe Batman game. Set in the comic book world. It looks dark. It looks gritty. Arkham Asylum is going to be in that whole thing. The Batcave, Gotham, to be able to run around there. Joker's in this thing. The Joker in this looks, straight out of the comics, threatening. And the background details of his cell and posters and things they showed in the concept art. This, if it plays as good as it looks, this could be one of my favorite games of all time. Because, to be able to be pulled into the mood. The problem with a lot of times the Batman games is they've fallen short for one reason or another. There's some that have been fun to play, but they still haven't had like the comic book world feel to them. Or there's one that did called Dark something or other. It was on the GameCube and the Xbox, and it was actually spaced on the comic book world, but the controls were awful. And the camera, it was actually more the camera than anything else. Like, there were bits when you were playing this game and you couldn't see what was going on. It was like you were disoriented.
Yeah, that's not a good thing.
Not at all. But I mean, it had a story mode that was set in the comic book. It had the current Batgirl in it and all that stuff. But that was the problem. It looked great, but fell short. This one, I'm hoping, with with it cut behind him, that we're going to have a nice intuitive control and it'll be a fun game. I want to be immersed in Batman's universe, so that'll be a fun one. Forget you, I'm talking about the cover right away. He just got done saying, I'm going to talk about the creators first, so I don't want you talking about the cool cover. Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters, #5. Dude, this cover is outstanding.
Oh, God, yeah.
I love the creators, but dude.
Yeah, this is
we're talking about this cover.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
Uncle Sam chained up on his knees. Just the setup to this, and in the storytelling, how he winds up in this mode was what was so cool. And we'll talk about that as we get into the issue. But this Daniel Acuna cover, ooh.
Yeah, this was a nice piece of artwork here. It still has the red, white, and blue flag, unfurled, even kind of a reddish tint to it, which is a little bit gritty, but it's also a little bit blood-stained. And I was just like, ooh, kind of nice.
Remember when we were talking about Trinity? And you were talking about a cover collection book of that. And I agree, Trinity, almost because of the way that it's those trifold covers, it almost lends itself to its own book to have it flip out that way. But I would almost love to see DC start doing coffee table books of various covers, not sticking to one character. Because they've done Superman, they've done Batman, those type of things. But I'd like to see one where they kind of go around the universe and just throughout their history, just start pulling covers that are cool. And putting them in there, I mean, with anecdotes or things like that, why they're in there. I mean, I would, every year, pick up a book like that. It'd be a yearly release. You don't have to release it, all the time. But, I mean, you could realistically, every year, keep publishing throughout their history these wonderful books. I would buy one every year.
Oh, yeah. Dude, that would be let me pick this up. Maybe a nice, as you said, a coffee table or a little bit larger, a large size hardcover. It'd be a definite, kind of nice Christmas present, nice birthday present, nice anniversary present.
Maybe let creators pick the covers.
Yeah.
Each cover is selected by a different creator. And I would go to writers, pencilers, inkers, colorists, letterers, editors, everybody. And what the cool part about that is, I enjoy as a fan seeing what creators are into. They could pick the cover based on their own draw to it and get to write a little blurb by why they chose a cover. It gives us a chance to kind of connect with them as fans.
Dude,
it's
that's
just a cool
nice idea.
Yeah.
That is a cool idea.
Yeah, so I'd love to see it. So it's kind of an interesting little thing. But this is one of those where, I'm sorry, go ahead and get to the creative team. You said that he lectured me before. I hit pause on this to save it because last week we had problems where we almost lost issues 3 and 4. So he's like, you better save that right now before we kick into the discussion. So I went to save it. And he goes to me, now, dude, I know you want to talk about this cover because I do too. But let me do the creative team first.
Thanks, pal. Our next discussion will be Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters #5. The scripts were written by Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti. Art and covers by Daniel Acuna. Colors by Javier Montez. Letterer Rob Lay. And editor Tom Palmer Jr. Yeah.
I'll never forget his name.
No, I can never forget that. And I always will put the Junior in there and everything. But issue opens up with an announcement that Air Force One is down. And the government is calling, though, for metahumans to stay away, as the U.S. government's team, First Strike, will deal with the situations. This was really cool, because you get to see Clark Kent and Batman watching and, just knowing they have to stay out of the picture. And you can imagine what's going through their heads,
But the look on their faces, too. I mean, the artwork was really great on that, because you see a Superman with a very strong look on his face, like, what do I do here? And I love tiny details, like in the background, look mono wires on the back in the Daily Planet, because those would be big articles. Anything involving superheroes and metas, like Superman, obviously, would be right in there. But this is wonderful to see the Batcave then. And I got to be honest with you, the Batmobile where you've got that, that old classic style to it with the bat on the front of it, That always, to me, it's an intimidating looking Batmobile. It goes back to, I mean, this is a variation on it. It goes back to the Batman's roots. And I like the concept, too, when we saw Jim Lee do it in All-Star Batman and Robin, that the Batcave might have more than one Batmobile in it, and that explains why different artists can play around with different styles. I would like to see that more. You know, where you get to see that there actually are rows of cars in the Batmobile in various places that, you know, show that he keeps modifying and changing the Batmobile, so then we see new ones. Because it's just little tiny details like this that I just love in artwork.
You know, that also, he could be on MTV Cribs, you know, he can show off the cave. You know, yeah, these are my ride, you know, check it out. You know. I
am the Batman.
Yeah.
I would love to. That, you know what that needs to be? Ambush Bug.
Oh, God.
But you have Ambush Bug showing Batman's cars.
Yeah.
And Batman walking in, what are you doing?
Okay.
Tangent and a half.
Yeah, well, hey, you know, us go on tangents? Well, say it ain't
I
so.
like the title of this issue, Jim. Freedom Denied.
Yeah.
Because that's what the theme here is. This is about freedom. And I like that more and more we're seeing that the Uncle Sam is more than one concept. You know, he's the ideals of what every American strives for. So what Uncle Sam is to you might be different from what Uncle Sam is to me. And I like that he draws off of the variations in what we look at as the American ideal. So we don't all have to feel that the American ideal is the same thing. Uncle Sam draws off the strengths of what each of us individually strive for.
Yeah, our strengths, our faith, our beliefs, our what we want, what we fear, what we hope for.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's the purest of elements that is America. You know, initially, of course, is always the base of freedom. You know, we're the country of, you know, that was founded on the principle of, you know, self-government, where, you know, it's the first country that said no to the ruling class, that struck out and said, we are our own people. We are been, you know, granted by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is, you know, kind of the basis of it, and you see that constantly in Sam, that the foremost, you know, thoughts always through him are freedom of choice, freedom, you know, of, you know, just general freedom, the principle itself, as well as hope.
Freedom of choice, freedom of expression, freedom of everything.
Yeah, all
the
of
basis of what the principles that this country was built on. It's very cool.
Yeah.
I like these idealistic concepts. I think every so often we as people, and I think this is true of any country, you need to feel some kind of connection to your country, some kind of, you know, patriotism and motivation for your country, wherever you're from. You know, it doesn't. I don't think that applies just to America. I think that applies to every country. My cousin lives in England.
Yeah.
And, you know, very much, you know, he's from America originally, but he's, you know, got this great respect for England. He and his wife is from there, and the, you know, the two of them do. And what I like talking to him about that, because it's interesting to see the differences in what, you know, he looks for now that he's living there, and, you know, obviously what she lives there, looks for living there her whole life. So it's really an interesting, I like that kind of concept about it, and I ate this up in this book.
We see the initial square off between the Freedom Fighters and First Strike. And as always, Sam, you know, doesn't initially open up with blasting and punching. No, he's going to try to reason with them. He's going to try to, you know, give them the patriotic pep talk. You know, show them the error of their ways. You know, these are people... Inspire them. You know, these are people who want to, on some level, serve their country. Well, right now they're being confused. They're being used. They're being misled by, you know, Shade, by Gonzo, by Father Time, by whatever is, you know, has them locked into this.
Gonzo's not so great.
No.
You know, with names like Barracuda and Railgun, though, I don't think they're the most rational of fellows.
I don't know. You know, that Barracuda seemed, you know, kind of reasonable and, you know, kind of straightforward and, you know, relatively normal for a creepy fish person.
It's my buddy Railgun.
Yeah. It was funny because at first, you know, we had Chief Justice and Embargo and all these things, and now we have Railgun.
That's right, yeah. That's when you know, when you know you're scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Well, not only that, we're now going beyond the patriotism stuff. Next we're going to see, blow up, you know, we're going to see another version of like the human bomb, just big boom guy, you know. We don't care about, you know, let's throw the patriotic theme out the window. We want power. We want something that's going to slam you hard. And I kind of liked seeing this next level, especially because we have Americommando, Captain Psychopath, running this team. He's not going to need to have the dun-da-da kind of mentality. He is about hard-hitting, bam, blast your enemy into the ground. And when we see the two teams attack, they each have their own kind of strategy. First strike, goes with a Barracuda railgun, and Americommando do a joint strike, take out the big guns. First they're on Black Condor. The rest of you hit them hard, hit them fast. It's their MO. They're not the heroes. Well. Yeah, they're not the heroes. They are going for maximum damage, effective strike, which
that is the contrast.
It's a good idea.
They are ordered. They aren't ordered to be a peacekeeping force. They aren't ordered to arrest them. They aren't ordered to follow our Constitution. They're ordered to kill. There's a huge difference. We have laws in our country, and this isn't about arresting criminals. This is about killing.
This is execution. This is execution without judge, being the judge, jury, and executioner. We have, there are times when I'll sit there and say, just kill them. When you see some villains that just do something that is just so heinous that I'm like, forget the courts, forget the laws. Let's just bring back the days of the lynch mob and string them up. But that is just my initial gut reaction. In the end, would I do that? No. Even if it was some horrific, because we've seen some baby killers that you first read about it, you're like, oh God, I hope burn them, fry them, lynch them, do whatever it takes, and then that's the initial gut reaction. But then you sit back and you think, no, we got to bring them in. You got to put them through the system. Let the judge, let the courts handle them. That is the American way.
I got to say, one of the cool things about this, too, is I would recommend, if you have not read this a second time, do yourself a favor and read it again. The tone in certain scenes is very different with reveals at the end of the series. And we'll talk about what those reveals are when we get to them in issue 8. But the twist here is reading it again, knowing what happens in issue 8, it really gives certain scenes a different tone. You're like, oh my gosh, this is so brilliant. It really is cool.
Oh God, and when this fight first starts off, the Freedom Fighters are actually doing pretty good. Yeah, Black Condor gets a little smacked around, but we know the dude can take a punch. But we head over to Stormy, and she is just opening up a can. I was like, hoorah!
And she knows Lady Liberty from Battle for Bloodhaven. Mm-hmm. And that's, I can't recommend enough. If you really enjoyed this, you don't need to. This is very self-contained. D. Goodhart mentioned it on the forum. He says this is very self-contained. And it's right. This is a very self-contained miniseries. You can read this by itself and have a very good time with it. But there are references in here, and you can tell right away they met before because they talk about it. But well, not that they met before, that she worked with a Lady Liberty before.
She worked with a
this
Lady
is not
Liberty,
the same Lady Liberty. But one of the nice things about Battle for Bloodhaven is it predates this, so you can kind of see a nice flow of Battle for Bloodhaven, this, and then, of course, the events that happen in the next miniseries.
Yeah.
So it's really a nice read. I want more of these so bad. But, she blasts her, and then she loses her costume. And I love how the Ray...
Yeah.
But even him catching her means something different to me now.
Well, dude, it's kind of cool because when I was first reading through this, I was like, man, these are some really cool scenes of the Ray. Swings by, catches a powerless Lady Liberty as she's falling to death. Yeah, well, he does a little bit of womenizers. His little.
That's his whole MO.
That's
anyway.
Who he is. But he's still playing the hero side. Saves her, drops her off at a nudist colony, or a nude beach somewhere on the other part of the world, and then deals with a spin doctor.
I love that there's 4 guys on the beach.
Yeah.
I'm dropping you off here so you'll feel more comfortable. Now, cute naked lady. The last place she's going to feel comfortable when she didn't choose to be that way is to be dropped off in front of 4 dorky-looking guys on the beach.
Reminds you of the Animal House theme, the Animal House scene. Thank you, God!
I'm like, no, I wouldn't be more comfortable.
Yeah.
But then it leads right into this great chase between, Ray and Spin Doctor. And I love these moments because it's what you get out of a good Flash story. The Flash story was Savitar, the classic one, Dead Heat. This had a lot of moments like this where you see the 2 speedsters racing together and you just get that intensity out of this. And I love that.
It is also cool because we see Ray take down Spin Doctor, not with blinding speed, but using his head. It's strategy. He's like, I'm not just about speed. bam, blasts her with the blinding flash of light. Doesn't kill her, doesn't, do the heavy damage. It's like, I'm like, yeah, cool, we're seeing, the Ray step up and become a hero. And I was like, oh, this is kind of neat. I'm digging this, I like seeing these characters develop and, be a little bit more of team players. And I was starting to really, get behind Ray's corner. I was thinking, man, he could probably be a really funny character, throw out some little one-liners, some little womanizing comments and whatnot. I'm like, oh, he's going to be a fun one to watch.
I love that he says, though, that Sam's saying that he needs him over there. Don't worry, Sam will be there in 0.8 of a second. We see that Sam was almost skewered. Sam was almost skewered, and he zaps right in and saves him just in the nick of time.
Yeah, well, and once again, saves, it's the really cool hero moments. Sam, I think Sam knew that Barracuda was about to attack him, but he also knew that Ray was coming in. It's trusting your team. Knowing that somebody's got your back when they're supposed to be there. That's what I put that whole thing on, where Sam's like, okay, son, now let's do it, knowing that he's about to get skewered, but Ray came in for the save. So I was like, ooh, more cool, Ray moments of seeing the inner hero in him come out. And I was like, yes!
I like seeing that we see Sam with a bit of an attitude, though. And I don't mean like a negative attitude. I mean like Sam's got a confidence about him. He's got an edge to him. And he's cool. Sam is very cool. He's not like this squeaky clean looking. He is about the ideals, and he is inspirational, and all because of that. But he's not afraid to roll up his sleeves and get his hands dirty. The working man, that whole concept about, and that's what I like about him. He's willing to get down and dirty, and be the voice of the working man as well. And that is what
that's all part of the spirit of America.
Yeah,
you
like
roll
that.
Up the sleeves. It's time. Okay, knuckle up time. And that's like, oh. Sam is a fun character that I really want to see more of him, and he's one of those characters that's now on my list of getting the back issue stuff, reading the previous stuff on Uncle Sam the Freedom Fighter, see if I get the same type of jive and feeling that I'm getting from the current stuff, from this one as well as from the next mini series, the limited series that we had on the Freedom Fighters. I had that same kind of hoorah moments with Sam. I tell you, I digged seeing the Lester Railgun fight because for me, it was the difference between a professional and an amateur fighter. Railgun's all bravado, ripping on Lester for his size. Lester's very focused, does his deal, bam, drops some flash grenade to the face. I was like, yes, right there. It's why talk about it? Banter is funny. When I see it and I enjoy it, but in the end, less talk, more action wins the fight.
But when he did talk, this is really important. Kid, I used to be just like you, blindly following orders, killing anyone my superiors told me to. We had to protect our country from the rest of the world. That was the sales pitch that got me murdering men and women. But now my eyes are wide open. Just really cool to show that, hey, Sam woke me up, made me see, that these regrets I was feeling, this unsure nature that I was feeling inside me, that was for a reason. I was being told to do something that blatantly goes against who I am and what this country's all about. I wasn't really protecting anybody. I was just killing people.
Yeah, and we see even later on with Lester that he still deals with what he had to do. There's some great scenes in a couple issues that I was like, oh, man, yes. I was just... So, yeah, there is that line in the soldier, whether am I doing the right thing, I'm just following orders, is an excuse that's used a lot of times, and it doesn't really make the pain go away. It's, you got to still deal with what you did, and Lester's going to be dealing with that for a while. It's something that's never going to leave him, and it's going to change how he acts, how he operates going forward. And I like to see that type of growth and development in a hero, and we've seen it in just 5 issues in Lester, and it's something that continues on the rest of the series as well as in the next series. And anytime we see this guy, we're going to see that type of guilt, if you will, but not like the overwhelming guilt. It's kind of like the reason Batman has his no kill code. It's there's an issue, an event in his life that affected him, that made him look and say, okay, this is what I got to do. So, yeah, cool.
There's a difference between being a soldier and a murderer.
Yeah.
Even there's a difference between being an assassin and a murderer. There's certain missions where You're killing someone to protect your country. Okay. We can argue for hours over the morality of that, and that's a whole other line. But in this case, a lot of the missions he was sent on were for a benefit of a chosen few.
Yeah, it wasn't for the greater good of America. It was for the greater good of Father Time and Shade. Mm-hmm. He was an assassin. He wasn't a soldier. And he sees that and he knows that. Mm-hmm.
But the funny part is, I love how all of this is a puppet play on purpose.
Yeah.
These characters were all positioned in a certain way. They were put in these positions. The things Lester was doing were positioned to get one man out of his funk post-Infinite Crisis, and that was Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the cool thing about this whole thing. This really does read very different to me now when I see Lester's in it. I'm like, boy, it was planned for him to wind up in this place. I'm like, yeah. I love this. I love the twists and turns of this were really great.
Yeah. We see Firebrand start giving it to Barracuda as the rest of the team really starts to seriously deal with First Strike. And I started thinking to myself, wait a minute, we had that cover where Sam gets captured. How, and I was thinking, is that like a symbolic chained up, or is that real? And I really started, because they were...
him breaking out of his chain?
Yeah, or something like that, because we really see them open up, because, Sam grows to, once again, to supersize, snatches up America Commando, and launches him into orbit. Literally. Mm-hmm. It's, remember when you were 10, David? You told your ma you wanted to be an astronaut? That was your American dream. You wanted to walk on the moon like Neil Armstrong. Shunk! He pitches him, crashes into the moon. I was like, damn, Sam. Wow.
Well, this is a Superman-level metahuman.
Yeah. Obviously, Superman level without flight. Whoops.
Well, he does fly real good, though.
Oh, yeah. Especially when he's got a nice propellant, But
I can't. Just the moments with Gonzo.
Yeah.
Now, that was hysterical. Sammy, old boy, I didn't know you had it in you. You'd be surprised what I'm willing to do for this country and her people, Gonzo.
Yeah. I'm digging Gonzo's attitude. At first I was thinking he was just crazy, but I kind of see it as a Lex Luthor type quality where he's like, no matter what happens, I will always be on top because I am better than you. And that is Gonzo's mentality, his motivation, especially because we know this guy he was built by the math magicians, to be this force of destruction. It's
anti-life. So
it's so I was like, cool, I'm digging this guy. And we eventually, as the freedom fighters start to move in, we see why he has this attitude. He has a little ace up his sleeve, as he calls in Miss America.
Well, and before that, though, I liked the dialogue between the team where we ain't aiming to kill him, Stormy. He has to be exposed. That's an important point here, because Sam realizes right now if he's killed without him being exposed, they are going to continue looking like criminals. The metahuman agenda that has been put into place here is a lock. So that's the important key here. It's not just about the fact that we can't kill him because of the moral issue or things like that. It goes way beyond that. If they kill him, they give him what he wants. And what Father Time had been laying out as far as they know, right. This was setting into place the position where people would then be controlled. Mm-hmm. And that's what I really liked about Sam's dialogue there. I'm like, woo, that's deep.
Yeah, and when we first see Miss America, that is just some really cool art scenes. Oh, yeah. She's kind of hovering above the group. She has this, I don't know, how it's kind of hard.
Of superiority.
Yeah, the look on her face, just like, you're a nothing. You
almost
are
disgust.
Insects. Yeah.
Almost disgust, yeah.
And we later see, because Sam calls...
But the shock on Sam's face, because, Sam, we found out later, Sam's thinking this is somebody else.
Well, Sam's thinking that's Miss America. That's,
right.
And... Whoa. Sam immediately orders the team to stand down. Do not engage. And he starts trying to reason with her. Just like he's done with every other villain, saying, Joan, listen, that's not the president. You got to listen to me. But she's not even acknowledging he's there. She's got this stone cold straight face looking forward, and there's not even a blink in her eye or any type of inflection that she even hears his words. And I was just like, whoa, she's got to be under some mind control, because I'm thinking if this is really Miss America, she's got to be under some type of mind control, or I'm like, what is going on here, because everybody else at least acknowledged Sam and said, screw you, old man, or hey, you got a point. He doesn't even exist. And the team's finally had enough, and they move in on her, and we see exactly why Sam told them to stamp down, because she just takes them out. Boom, boom, boom. I was like really impressed, because I'm like, man, what type of power levels does she have? She's got Uncle Sam level powers, which would make sense why, she's Miss America. So I was kind of figuring, okay, she's got to have the same type of levels. Maybe she's pulling, the strength, her powers from the current fear and propaganda. Maybe Time and Gonzo have twisted her around a little bit, because I'm still thinking this is Miss America. This is the real Miss America, who's somehow been corrupted and or mind controlled and whatnot.
And I love this bit because she is playing off their own fears.
Oh, yeah.
And, really breaking them down that way, getting into the deep truths that we all have. We all have fears. We all have weak spots. We all have those things that, when something happens, it sets us in that mode where we're like, we all have our Achilles heels.
Yeah, and
we all have an emotional Achilles heel somewhere. There's some comment somebody's going to make, something somebody's going to do that's going to make us doubt ourselves on some level. And she knows them.
Yeah.
She plays them, and she plays them harsher than anybody ever could.
Yeah, and it's not just a physical shutdown. It's the mind games. And with each one, boom, 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 going down. But I tell you...
Well, it's not really a physical shutdown at all.
Well, they no longer have the ability to access their powers.
Right, but what I'm saying is that's
a physical
all done.
Shutdown. Right.
No, what I'm saying, though...
We learn that later.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's the brilliant thing about her powers, is that they really are mental-based.
Yeah. But I tell you, the ultimate just attack, if you will, was on Sam. That was just wonderful dialogue. Samuel, America doesn't need you. The dream you hoped would materialize is drowning in new technologies, political and social gray areas, and the never-ending war against an unseen enemy. You exist only in America's imagination. Unfortunately, America has no imagination. They live and dream vicariously through what they see on television and movies and through electronic games. Everyone wants to be someone else. No one wants to be you.
And that's true. If you look at today, nowadays, that image is not one of those. But I love it. Can't you feel that deep in those calcified bones?
Yeah.
Really playing off of every possible way you could not get a man like this. And whew.
Yeah, and once again, I was just like, Gray and Palmiotti just really had me going, wow, I did not see this coming.
No.
Even though the covers aren't symbolic, they are actual scenes that, from they're basically a little glimmer on what's going to happen in the comic. And I should know that by the 5th issue, that every time they've done it, it's been there. But still, I was like, wow, I didn't see the team going down like this. And it was a cool way, because it wasn't a physical beatdown. It was a mental beatdown. And we later learn exactly what happened to him, even accentuated what is, the coolness of her powers and why they're able to take them down the way they did. So I was just like, oh, this is just...
That cover book should be slightly oversized.
Yes, so we can get the full, coolness of the...
I want to see the art a little bigger.
Yeah.
Sorry, we talk about that cover, I just keep looking back at it. I'm like, oh my gosh, is that gorgeous. This
takes us to a news report. The president is... now authorized to amend the Constitution. The news continues on how the freedom fighters have been captured and they'll probably be executed under the new, they're being held under the USA Patriot Act, and it's a continuation of the fear. It's a continuation of suspension of laws, of beliefs, of what is, the basic foundation of the Constitution. And as this is going on, we see the Invisible Hood get up, and he starts suiting up and putting on the suit. Now, here's the thing. I didn't know who he was when I first read this suit, because I didn't have any clue on anything. But I was sitting there, I'm watching this guy suit up, I'm like, he's got to be a freedom fighter. I don't know who the character is, but he's got to be a freedom fighter. I'm like, cool, bringing in more of the team.
Well, and it adds another layer to this in the sense that Sam walked into this mission, but Sam is a strategist and a master strategist at this point, which I didn't see coming at all. We've seen Sam be inspirational and all that, but now we're seeing another layer to Sam. Sam's been inspiring. He's been a strong leader in the sense that everyone looks up and respects them. He's able to get to the root and the core of who these people really are, and not only necessarily who they really are, but who they want to be and helping them raise themselves to that spot. Not even just who they want to be, who they can be. And that's the great thing. A good leader inspires people to be the best they can be, to be the most they can be. Yeah. And now all of a sudden we're seeing here, though, that Sam has another layer. He has got that strategy behind him. Careful planning.
But the thing I thought was really cool was the fact that we have these other freedom fighters. They're out there, and they know when they're needed, they will step up. Mm-hmm. Sam didn't drop a line saying, hey, I need backup here. They were seeing the news. They saw what was going on, like, okay, we're needed now. Let's suit up.
But that's because he had them in place.
He already had the plan set, but he didn't actually say engage. They knew ahead of time. Right. They knew,
but see,
just seeing the news.
I took that as Sam had set that up with them.
See, I kind of took it where Sam told them, because we learned later that Sam, told Hood where to find the invisible suit and all that, and sent some plans to, some research notes to Red B, who we'll later see on.
Right, which is setting them up.
But he didn't say, hey, we're going to engage them. If we have a problem, come and help.
That's setting up a backup plan in place. Right. That's what I'm so...
Okay, we're agreeing. We're just saying it differently.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Sam had set up in the background, hey, these guys are ready for... Otherwise, why didn't he just bring them with him for the first strike?
Exactly. That's... Yeah. Okay. We're saying the same thing. We're just saying it. We're just wording it differently. Once again, we go back to Father Time and Shade, and it's just the torturing of the freedom fighters, and especially of Sam, because it's not just the physical beatdown. There are the psychological games. There are the mind, the mind F that you got to do to Sam, and I was just like, oh, especially learning what's Time's ultimate agenda here. I really love these sequences going back because he's really going after Sam just on the ideological levels. Basically just throwing everything against Sam, saying America isn't your America.
Why
anymore.
He is doing this is so brilliant, dude. When I'm telling everyone, please reread this because to watch this sequence, knowing. Can we just say it? Can we go there?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, let's just say it now,
right now. Father Time, all along, was doing this because this scene means so much different now because when you know Father Time was doing this to inspire Uncle Sam to be the kind of leader, the freedom, because Uncle Sam was broken down after what happened in Infinite Crisis. How they were all killed, and now all of a sudden he's helping to get Uncle Sam back up there to lead a new generation of freedom fighters. But he needs Uncle Sam to be angry, to be inspired, to be. And, he needs to be 100%. He can't have anything holding him back. He can't have the fact that his team was killed in front of him, holding him back at this point. He needs to be that guy that has the drive to carry this team to places that other teams can't go. We saw in the last part we were talking about how the superheroes were all looking outside. Sam's got to look inside, and he's got to, his team's got to look at possible corruption, possible, anything that's going outside of the Constitution, anything that could disrupt the way of life of the American people, the working class, the people, that you rub up your sleeves and all that stuff. Sam's out there for us, and that's, he's looking at in a way that the heroes that we traditionally read about can't, and that's what Time has his own agenda here. And Time is as slimy and sneaky as he presents himself, but he does want what he believes is the right thing for this country.
Yeah, and throughout the whole time I'm thinking, okay, Time wants what he thinks is right. He wants complete control. He wants docile, population that he can just manipulate and do whatever he wants with them. No, he wants a metahuman team. He wants Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters. He wants that force that is going to look after America, that is going to put American interests first. Not be the Superman to save the world. Not be the Justice League to help out these other countries and whatnot. No, their first and foremost focus will be America. And
he wants order. He wants to bring order, and this is the way to do it.
and just the some of the stuff he's throwing at him about how the moral decay of this country has weakened the country. It's time to restore it, and we need to be stronger. We need to be back on top of the food chain. But even throughout, while he's torturing Sam, while he's just digging in, saying, "Yeah, we're torturing your team. Hey, you remember how your people all died before?" All these little mental digs on Sam. Sam still holds on to his ideology. It's like forcing people to do what you want is un-American. There's still that whole freedom of choice, freedom to live your life as you want to live it. Not, to be told you must do this, you must do that, you must do that. There's a difference between order and, just complete mind control. There is that, I said it earlier, we are born with certain inalienable rights. We have these rights. This is what all people have. It's our freedoms that are just based on our nature of who we are, based on the fact that we are living, breathing, entities. We have these rights to live our life. And I was just like, beat him, smack him around, go after everything he believes in, but Sam will not falter. Sam will stand tall, and I was loving that about him.
Jim, when we started this podcast, way back when, this is exactly why I was like Father Time at that point in time. I saw you, and I'm like saying to myself, like, Jim can be the leader that we need. That's why I hit you with that Buick and said, love comics, buy comics.
Sometimes I wonder where these thoughts just come out of your head, dude. Okay, as the torture continues,
Sensei Whatnot and the Bulleteers.
You know what? That's a Where's Whatnot I would love to see. As the torture continues, we're seeing that it's across the boards. They're all really, they're turning up the juice.
When he says the torture continues, we're talking about my comments or what was going on?
No, I'm talking the comments in the comic. I'm trying to get us back to the comic. This thing we do, review comics, we talk about them and whatnot. Just remember that.
You're right.
I think that was about 6 in that last bit. You're going to have fun editing. We're seeing Ray getting kind of like experimented on. It goes even beyond a little bit of torturing. And I was really wondering what the heck they're doing to him. Condor is doing they're going through like kind of, if you will, the Klingon shock ritual where it's the passage of manhood, where he has all of the shade troopers around him just zapping him with the electricity, and they're like, sooner or later, you'll beg us to stop.
No, he won't.
No.
Black
Death
Condor
first.
won't.
Death first. And
Yeah, I have
like,
no doubt in my mind, Black Condor would never break. But one of the things I really like about this, reading it through again, Jim, is who these people are. These are the people from Bloodhaven. It's oof.
Hey, these are the victims, or whatever you want to call them, from everything that happened at Bloodhaven. So that even adds a whole nother level to the freakiness of what's going on here. And poor Brand. This is his second time around. In the beating, they have him dangling from the thing, and they're just treating him like a little piñata, which that had to be not a fun experience for the guy, because he can just. I can imagine going through his head like, what the heck, man? How come I'm the guy who keeps getting beaten around like this? This is not good.
He's a lot like you.
I know. He takes his lumps, and you notice, like me, Brand kicks butt.
Me like this.
But throughout all of this, we do get the continued debate between Sam and Time about what is right for the country. Obviously, as we said, Time wants order. He wants his America, and he's willing to suspend freedom to get it. But Sam is like, freedom and liberty is what America is. You can't suspend it to save it. You have to, embrace it. You have to protect it. You have to build it and let it grow and give people this, this is the strength that is our country. We can't ever let that die. And I was
love
like,
that Time is playing the bad guy, though.
Yeah.
Because he knows I've got to get him back to being... That's what I love about this. This in the second read-through, dude, was so good. Because I was like, oh my gosh, all along, Time was saying things and doing things to set him up. The torture of the team, the way that he's just right now throwing everything at him that is the opposite of what Sam believes is right for the country, is to really just dig in and inspire this man to rise up and be something more than maybe he ever was.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a weird thing where I keep throwing back to just wondering, how much is Time's agenda, how much is something that's played out as if he's improvising as he's going along, how much has he laid out exactly, this is what I'm going to do, then this is what I'm going to do. There's obviously, we see in the end there's some big curveballs that he didn't plan on, but in the end, his end game was, the rebirth of Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters.
I think there was a plan in place, but then there was a lot of time taking advantage of opportunities to plant the seeds of his plan.
Yeah. Now, for me, the coolest thing in this whole segment is the end of the torture segment, because Time is just, once again, just giving it to Sam. He's like, how are you going to stop me? You can't even stand with a little help from my Freedom Fighters. Bam! Alarms start going off, and the base is under attack. I was like, oh, that's right.
What I was saying. That was the moment where it totally convinced me, like, Sam had this planned all along.
Yeah.
He deliberately didn't bring them for the strike because he knew, I need people set in place. But then it goes one step even further.
Right.
Because at this point in time, Sam knows that's not Joan.
Yeah.
And that's what he's already figured out at this point, this is not Joan. And all of a sudden, there's Joan, there's Red B, and wait, let's talk about stunning art and colors. That Red B sequence where she's flying in that one-page spread, very cool character.
Yeah,
and I really grew to like her in the second series. I loved her a lot in this series, but really it was the second series that she begins to shine.
Yeah.
But to see her in this one, it's really, this Daniel Acuna art in this is really sharp.
Yeah, cool. I love this plan because you had Invisible Hood sneaking in to break out the team while Red B, is the diversion, draw out Miss America, and then in comes the real Miss America. And I knew right away, even though I didn't know the characters, I see this elderly woman come out there, and I'm like, okay, that's the real Miss America. And it was like, young lady, you don't know the first thing about Miss America or the Freedom Fighters, but you're about to find out. I was like, oh, yes. This leads us right to issue 6, and it's funny, right on the cover, you can see what we thought, what we knew. It's Miss America versus Miss America on the cover there, and it was funny because when I first read this, I did the next week, the little clip that showed it, because I had to see, like, okay, cool, okay, yeah, that definitely is the real Miss America.
Again, Sam's look on his face, which I like, because when we saw him in issue 5, we saw him standing up there tall and looking, it was like that confused look on his face, and we see it here, like, who's what and what's going on. I love that. Because even though Uncle Sam had such good planning, this was a curveball he didn't see.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't see, Miss America coming back. He didn't see, the evil Miss America or any of that stuff. But once again, the Freedom Fighters step up when they're needed. And the opening segue is just cool because the young Miss America quickly disperses with, Red B. Granted, Red B's tough, but she does have a little bit of higher power levels, and she starts stalking some smack to the real Miss America. What are you going to do? You're just a feeble old woman. What can you do to me? And I'm just chuckling, thinking, oh, she's going to open up on her. And we weren't disappointed because, appearances can be deceiving. As
the returning of champions.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh, as she transforms back to her young thing, the title, returning of champions, just a really cool moment that just, once again, more awesome artwork and just the add-on to that, just, it accentuated the story that I was reading. I was loving the story, but I really dig this artwork. Did
you mention Santiago Arcas for colors?
No.
Okay, that's just on this issue. I think Daniel Acuna was assisted on the colors.
Oh, okay.
So I just figured it was worth mentioning because it's
definitely because it's great color work, and you know what, full creative team. And when we're talking Daniel Acuna's art, we got to also give full credit to colorists, to inker, everything. Lettering.
It looks like Daniel Acuna on the previous issue did everything, but on this one, Santiago Arcas did the colors.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
because it says art and cover Daniel Acuna, which is what it said last issue. I just was noticing it as I was looking through there. So
now, at first, it was funny when I saw her going from old to back to young. I was kind of like, I kind of would rather have seen her staying old. And I figured she'd be like Uncle Sam, the elderly, matriarch of the country and type of stuff. But I liked the explanation that she gave. She had willed herself basically to grow old so she could live her life and have a normal life with her husband. But now her husband is dead, and her country needs her, so she is back. And I was just like, yes, that is a freedom fighter. You answer the call when you are needed.
I mentioned before I was a fan of the Highlander movies and the TV show. And, Doctor Who and stuff like that with characters that are immortal, that either, regenerate or, can die and be reborn again, like Hawkman, for example. Like, a lot of media outside of comic books and literature, anytime they have stories with characters that are, live throughout time and all that stuff, I eat that stuff up. It tends to be just kind of an area that I get interested in. So when she did that, I was like, yes, because that is part of, in Superman even, when they've touched on the fact that Superman is going to outlive Lois
Everyone.
Lane. Right, and yeah, exactly. It becomes a very lonely life for these characters. And it was cool to see that she chose to change herself to try and live a normal life so she could have that kind of companionship. And, something that really... someone to live in her life with her is something that's denied her because she's not going to die.
Right, and so it was a cool way to explain the character and show her, and I liked it. And
immortality sounds great, but there is a double-edged sword.
Yeah, there's issues and there's problems with it, and I do like the fact that she did get this chance to live a life with her husband. She did get to live the normal life, but you know what? You can't always have the fairy tale ending. Sometimes you got to go back to work, and now she's back. So
but it's interesting for people like her. That's a speck, of your life. It's not, it's not a. To us, it's so significant because it is such a intense portion of our life that you have that relationship. But in her case, it's not.
Yeah. As the fight outside is going on, we see Invisible Hood sneak into Sam's cell. And he's, basically, it's kind of like the motivation of seeing his freedom fighters coming back. We get Sam back. Sam's able to recover. He's able to pull himself up by his bootstraps, and he's back to being Sam. As he punches through the wall to rescue Stormy. And here's where we learn a little bit more about the power.
I did like here the way the balloons were done around the...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Invisible Hoods, because he's wearing a hood, so his voice is going to be different because it completely covers his mouth. So I liked that there was that greenish, and the bubbles were not smooth, they were kind of jaggedy a bit. It just implied to me that he's talking through something.
I also took it because of the invisible power, kind of probably freaky, probably funkifies his voice a little bit. He probably has a kind of voice, or
yeah, but I mean, this is part where he's visible.
I think even when he's visible, there's still
because if you talk through something, you're going to have a voice like this. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I figured even when he's visible, he still has maybe an energy field around him or something like that. Because when we see human bomb talk, they don't really do something completely.
No, that's true. You got a good point there.
I took him more as the energy, but it could be the costume. It could be, I don't know. It is a different.
Yeah. With cloth. Cloth is more inclined to actually cover over your mouth, whereas human bomb's wearing almost like a helmet. But then that's going to muffle too.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got a point there. You got an interesting point there. So you're right, and that would be the color scheme would also hint some form of energy.
Right.
So yeah, it's an interesting point.
Okay, as Sam busts out Stormy, we learn exactly what happened. It's not a negation of power; it's a severing the connection between the mind and your confidence, between your mind and your beliefs. It's kind of the ultimate, insult, if you will. It breaks down who you are. It wasn't a stopping of the powers. Her negative bands, her black light bands, or whatever they're called, always worked. It's just Stormy didn't believe they worked. Sam always had his strength. He just lost his faith in who he was, and he basically tells her all you got to do is believe. And she doesn't have the belief anymore. Her belief system has been damaged. But she believes in Sam, and she's able to reactivate the powers. She's able to, come back and throw down once again because of her faith and belief in Sam. Sam's never lied to her. Sam would never lie to her. If all she needs is faith, she has faith in Uncle Sam.
But here's where he works too, because Sam, it's not all just about believing in him, because he comes back and he uses that as the hook, but then he feeds her, because Sam's not about ego. Sam's like, my goal here, believe in me. But I'm going to push you to believe in yourself. That a girl. Every day is a new chance to redeem yourself for the things you did with Shade. Once again, saying you can do, this is your chance. This is your chance to do this. And that's what I like. He leaves her with the seed planted to believe in herself, to push herself for a reason that would motivate her personally. And I totally believe he would say something different to each person to encourage them to have their own independent belief, because Sam is the one that inspires people to be the best they can be based on their own individual ideals. And I love that. It's like, that's where the concept totally works, because it works in his interactions with others. Sam is cool.
Oh, God, yeah. And it's... Yeah, I tell you, I was digging it when, Stormy goes to quote-unquote free Black Condor, who's already kind of dealt with the situation. As she goes through the wall, he's dealing with the last of the silent majority, and, once again, Condor is Condor. The dude is a powerhouse, and he probably figured out exactly what Sam said about faith, trust, and believe in who you are. He knows he is the Black Condor. He knows he's a badass.
Whoa! I love that. Invisible Hood. Whoa! Dude's like bleeding past him. Let me handle these soldiers. Release the others. Whatever you want, dude.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good use for him, too. I'm like, take him down, dude. This is you. This is where you shine. I'll go and free people. That's... Now, also, the Ray was one that I was like, wow. That kind of... a little bit shocked me and had me wondering what the heck's going on here, because Ray also turned the tables on the mad scientist that was, experimenting, torturing him, doing whatever he was doing to him, and he was beating him to death. He had the guy on the brink of, the over the edge, and it wasn't, if Sam hadn't shown up when he showed up, that dude would have been dead. And I was just like, whoa. Ray, what's going on here, buddy? You okay there? And that
a twist to that is talk about dedication to your role.
I know.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Miss America and Miss America.
Yeah. Okay. Outside, we learned that the fake Miss America is really a robot construct. And I tell you, I really loved as soon as Miss America realized, okay, this isn't a living being, I can take her down. Bam! Blasts her. Turns her into rose petals. Complete destruction of her, but not just a boom explosion. Look at the cool stuff. Transmutation, transmorphing, whatever. However, the actual power is called. I was like, that's kind of cool. I like that.
The beauty of America, the nature in America, her connection with that. It seems, I don't know.
It is like the power, because we see later she has other
ways of this robotic Miss America's ways of dealing with everything was very negative. And wow, you're a machine. Know what that means? I can do whatever I like with you.
Now. Another Kura moment as Father Time and the Shade move in to attack Red Bee and Miss America. The rest of the freedom fighters show up. You look like you ladies. Looks like you ladies could use some good old fashioned freedom fighter help. As Sam's sleeves rolled up, the rest of the team swooping down. I was like, oh, I gotta love that, man. Ugh.
The whole fight was just really well done. Because it was, every player was involved. From Human Bomb to Black Condor to Uncle Sam. And I like that Sam is one of those, he's right in the mix.
Yeah, we had some nice 1-2 combos going on with, Bee and Bomb doing a pretty couple cool tag team moves. Condor's drawing fire as the rest are blasting. Hood and Ray had a great thing where Hood goes invisible, starts punching on the silent majority. Majority's like, hold on, let me shift to thermals, which of course makes him very susceptible to Ray's light attack.
Yeah.
Bam!
But a total setup.
Yeah, it was nice. And
from two people who didn't like each other.
Well, they just met. Yeah. This was Hood and Ray, so they really just met, but it's a nice flow through. Sam and Miss America give time just a
I think, my issue with Ray is Ray was never like a team player. He did, he was all about him. Now all of a sudden he doesn't, he didn't like, anybody having the spotlight or anything like that. Now he's doing team moves, which aren't his thing. It's usually for him, it's like, let me take the spotlight, let me get the notice. And that's what I like about him. He doesn't like usually doing teamwork. And this is where, like, they hooked me in hook, line, and sinker here for the swerve.
Yeah. And Yeah, oh, definitely. Because I was eating up, that Ray is part of the team now, and and it's just this cool stuff. As I said, I was looking forward to seeing stuff with Ray, just because he's a little bit of an ass, so that's always kind of fun to see in a superhero team.
Interesting that this starts connecting with Seven Soldiers, too.
Yeah.
Just in the layout with Bride of Frankenstein and Father Time and all that's cool.
Yeah, Sam and Miss America do a nice 1-2 punch, knock Time basically through the wall, and he's down. And in for the save is the Bride of Frankenstein, who snatches him up, and they teleport out. And I like the fact that it was just a boom, 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 quick end to the fight, because especially seeing what Time's goal is, he's at a point now, plus he's getting his butt handed to him. It's time for a tactical retreat, which calls in the Bride. So nice use of her, especially because, as you said, we see her eventually in the Seven Soldiers. We see Shade in Seven Soldiers. We see Father Time's involvement, and it's like, okay, they're still using these elements. They're still using what's out there. So I like
Seven
that.
Soldiers, I believe, predated this.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I mean, this was nice to see them after Seven Soldiers. Because I was confused with this Father Time because of the difference between the Father Time's look in Seven Soldiers. So it was interesting to me to see the differences in his, like, why does he have this long white hair and the beard and all that? And we start to see what really happens with him.
Yeah.
Which I really like.
And as he's injured, as he goes to regular time, he molts, basically, like a snake, if you will, where he sheds his skin. He kind of maybe even changes up the powers a little bit, and it's kind of like the healing process. And because of the injuries he sustained, he kind of goes into a rapid molting. And as
a terrible house guest.
Yeah, skin falling all over the place. Yeah, come on, man. I just washed the floor. I just cleaned it.
I'm still picking up after Father Time. His nose is in the kitchen. And
now, the molting scene actually for me was really cool because we started to see more of Gonzo play his hand. It wasn't just about Time's schedule, because he even kind of like chastises Time for failing to defeat Sam. He's like, okay, we have to move ahead with the RFD chip plants, and he's like, but don't worry, I've come up with another way to deal with Sam. And we start to get this idea that the Shade occult scientists have been able to reconstruct some type of dark matter armor. There's a little bit of occult, a little bit of science, and a whole lot of trouble that they're building. And I like the fact that they start talking about it here, but as this issue goes on, as the next issue comes out, we see what exactly, he's talking about. And cool, just introduction and then, the follow-through.
Well, what's interesting here, too, and this introduces the concept of the radio frequency IDs.
Yes.
Which, this is legitimate tech.
Yeah, and it's stuff that people are talking about even now. People would like to see this type of stuff going on.
At what point in time do we have privacy? Nowadays we are losing more and more of our privacy. With things like the internet and all that, our ways of communication are being monitored now because people are abusing it. But at what point is it protection, and what point is it overstepping those bounds? Yeah, and that's the fine. And I mean, I agree with protecting people however you can from internet predators and things like that. So I'm all for that. So I don't want to mislead here. But the problem is, anytime you have technology like that, we saw this explored in The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Where Bruce was kind of watching over the whole city like that, and that led into that debate with Lucius. Where Lucius put his foot down and said, hey, if you're doing something like this type of thing can be abused. We're right now really in... So this concept is playing in here, and this would be something Sam would be adamantly against.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows what we're talking about, the RFID tags are basically... Currently, pets have these things in them, and it's kind of like a global positioning type thing. Well, this plan is to put it in all of the citizens of America, so at any given time, the government can see exactly where you are. The thought process behind it is, if someone breaks the law, you can see, okay, yeah, you were there in that bank when that bank was robbed, or you were in that apartment when that person was killed. Why were you there? And same thing with people who are entering the country illegally. You capture capture somebody who enters the country illegally, you put the chip in them, and then you kick them back, to their, you deport them back to their country of origin. If they come back over, you will know the second they step on American soil. And these are actual debates that people would like. There are people out there who would like to see this right now, because we really have the technology to pull it off. Some people talk about with sexual predators who get released from prison should have these things on them. It's one step above the ankle, the house arrest ankle guards that are currently on people, where that's a temporary thing that after you do your probation period, you get those removed. These are things that will be implanted in your skin that you cannot remove.
I understand both sides of the debate, because it's really interesting. It's like, well, okay, if we start there, where do we stop? Once that floodgate's open, how far do we take that? Do we then go to other criminals and, where's the distinction?
Yeah, where is the line? If someone's getting released from prison, have they paid their debt to society? Are they now should they be allowed to be welcomed back into society, and, or once a crook, always a crook? There's those debates that can go back and forth, and I will be honest, I have been on both sides of the debates. And there has been times when I've dealt with, people who were habitual criminals, who they're in, for a couple months for doing something. They come out, as soon as their probation's done, they redo it all over again.
Sure.
And it's the revolving door of justice, whatever you want to call it. I've seen that firsthand. But I've also seen people who've done their time and said, hey, I'm never going to jail again. I'm going to turn straight. I'm going to be on the straight and narrow. And these are people who are leading productive lives and law-abiding citizens. So can you punish all of them? Can you, it's as Sam says, you can't suspend freedom to protect freedom. You only have to, we have our rights, we have our laws, we have who we are. And this is a huge thing that is just, whoa, it's... it's a huge infringement, but I don't know. It's a toughie.
That's what I liked about what this story is, because it pulled from realistic elements, real concerns that are out there. And that's why it actually played off of a very touchy debate and showed how technology could be abused.
Yeah. Yeah, and
which is our fears. It's our fears. I'm a technology nut. I love technology. But
it's very easy to take it to the wrong side. You look at some of the most revolutionary developments we've had in society. Nuclear energy has been used for massive destruction, but it's also been used for this great. It could be this great free, cheaper energy source, but you gotta watch it, because you'll have countries that start developing the nuclear technology saying, no, we're just developing power plants, but everybody's worried, no, they're developing bombs. When the U.S. and the Soviets disarmed their nuclear program, everyone was worried, okay, we got to make sure these things don't fall in hands of, a terrorist organization or some radical group that would, drive it up into the middle of the heartland, detonate a nuke right in America. There's these powerful things that, if they're unchecked, if they're in the hands of a psychopath, can do these horrific things, but in the hands of a responsible person are a wonderful, futuristic, tool that will help in betterment in society and whatnot.
This Heartland segment, when we get into it, not only was it very beautifully drawn, but I noticed something here. Guess who was asking the question? They all got back there and they started relaxing. Okay, since that's out of the way, who are you people? The Ray.
Yeah.
He was searching for info. He was fishing at this point. How cool was that?
Yeah, didn't notice that. And I was like, oh, okay. Once you know everything that happens, and we're going to see it at the...
even the debate with, Firebrand. Woo.
Yeah, and I dig that, because, this, once again, we had some great interaction between these people. They start saying who they are. You get ideas of their ideology. Obviously, Firebrand is liberal, while Ray is, skewed a bit to the right. But it's, unveiling of who they are, and that for me, is a cool concept in comics that they're not just thinking this limited series. These are characters who we're going to see again and again and again. They're thinking long term. A lot of times, if you have a limited series where, okay, yeah, we have our character for this, but who knows if we'll ever see him again. No, it's like they wrote this limited series as if it was a monthly series. There's going to be stuff they introduced in this one that got developed in the second limited series. There was stuff in the second limited series that would probably come out in the third series. It's a building process, which is something I always dig. I dig the layered stories. I dig a mixture of comedy and action, and we're getting all of that from this. So this is really just a cool moments where it's really a downtime. If you think about it, you look at it, it's a downtime in the action, but it's a cool story moment.
But it's also dealing with important issues, because like this stuff with Miss America, I've got an idea. We could wait for the right time and I could physically expose his true form. And that would be a geeky question. Like, okay, if they got Miss America and she can do this kind of stuff, why don't they just do that? And Sam explains it. That's what I loved about it, because they've got all these powerful people. Why don't they do certain other things, and sneak around and do that? Because they have to have the support of the people. And Sam knows that, because there is an ideology here that they have to combat. That we're dealing with here, that debate we were just talking about. And if they aren't careful in how they proceed, and if they don't expose him at the right time with the support of the people, and then take him down with the people wanting that to happen, if you don't do that, you run the risk now of basically proving the point that the other side is trying to make. And that's what I love about this whole meta-human debate. Should they be controlled and that type of thing? Should we put a lock on them and that type of thing? He's saying right now, no. We need to be careful how we do this. Our strategy needs to be, we need to verify that what we are saying is right, and they all along are the ones that have been putting on the smoke screen.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, yeah, and it's also, you add on to another side, if they go in, take out Gonzo, and say, boom, your freedom, it's like they're imposing their will on the American people. They're saying, you have to live the way we're telling you to live. That would make them no better than Shade. Because Sam even said, when he was being tortured, making somebody do something that they don't want to do is un-American. You have to give them the choice. They have to have the freedom to make the choice. You have to show them the truth and let them step up to it and embrace it as their own. I was just like, oh, that's some cool stuff. This is, Sam is living his ideology that he said from day one about what is freedom, what is America, what is Uncle Sam. And I was like, I was digging it, man.
This next segment is where I really, it's probably one of my favorite segments because of where it leads. One of the things I really liked about this next segment is it made me connect with the Phantom Lady in a way where I'm like, ooh, she's cool. Where before early on, it was kind of, I liked her character a lot. I'm glad she was there. But she wasn't really one of those I was going, wow, she's cool. But then all of a sudden, this segment changes all that. And it really sets up something later that becomes really interesting. And it's another one of those, it's funny, I'm looking at this, I'm really appreciating some of the effects, little tiny detail effects that art teams put in. If you take a look at the sunlight effect and all that on her back, just adds a little hint of realism to, a flat image that just kind of, is eye-catching to me. We were talking about that type of thing in Secret Six before, and I'm seeing it here too. Just tiny little tweaks and details that, I don't notice on the initial read-through, but then when it's why I go back and look through a book again.
Yeah, and like the background clouds type stuff. Yeah. And it's just, because they're in the heartland. So it would have these, spectacular views and just everything would be breathtaking scenery. So you would expect to see that kind of stuff. And I like that. And as, it's her and Black Condor. Now, up to this point in time, Condor has been the butt kicker. He's been my, if you will, Black Adam of the team where he is just opening up a can. But now we're seeing more to him. Mm-hmm. He is opening up in a way. He is, being a team player and helping out his teammate who is making some bad choices. Because Stormy's sitting there talking about how, I don't know what I'm going to do. I only joined the team because my father wanted it. Now he's dead. I don't know if I belong here. And Condor doesn't let her, go down that route. He basically calls her out on it. And even when she throws the, hello, grieving daughter here, my father just died, he doesn't let her go that way. He's like, you're not grieving, you're hiding. You're afraid to step up and do what you must do. We need you. This team needs you in order to win. And I was just like, oh, cool. That is it's in a weird way, it's kind of like, most people's reaction when you see someone who's like lost a loved one, you're always going to comfort and soften. Not Condor. He is the warrior, but he is also saying what needs to be said. And even when Stormy, plants a big old kiss on him, he's like, hey, you don't need a lover. You need a friend who's going to be honest with you, who's going to tell you you're acting like a spoiled child. And I was like, yes, that is the man.
And that is what I like about him, too, because he is one of these characters. I easily would read this monthly. Easily. And this would be one of those books that would go up on my top list of books that I wouldn't drop because it's just so interesting. I don't, I got to admittedly, I haven't looked at the sales numbers of what this book did. But just speaking as a fan of this, it's one of the reasons why when D. Goodhart mentioned, like, can you guys interested in doing something with Uncle Sam? We hadn't gotten to this whole contest idea yet, and I'm like, you know what? Let's go ahead and do this one. I'm so glad he suggested it because you and I have not done enough of this. I talked about it in a few top bullets, the second series, the second go around. But this is one. Ooh,
I know. And just like when you told me, when you asked me if, hey, do you want to take the lead on this? I was like, oh yeah. Because I ate this up, and when the second one came out, as soon as I heard that, I was like, yes, they're doing another one. I'm on that bad boy. That wasn't even a second hesitation to pick up the second series because, these are some really cool characters. And
when I knew we were doing 2 book of the months back to back, I was just like, I had a feeling this one would be one that you would.
Yeah, I am a bit of a romantic at heart. I admit it. I will sometimes, be negative on romance, but I was just eating up seeing Lester and Eva together.
Well, especially because he's such another tragic story with his problems, and he doesn't have it here.
Yeah, in the Heartland, he's full size. They can live a normal life, and they're laying in bed together talking about just how we can retire here. We never grow old while we're here. Sam said we'll never age in here, so we could live for all of time. Who knows? Maybe we can even find a cure for you, and we can live a normal life together. And I was just eating this up going, oh my God, this is so wonderful. I am going to hate to see her die. Because this had so many levels of, she had the big old bullseye on her chest, and I was just like, dear God, don't let this happen. Please let me be wrong. Because I was eating these 2 kids up, and I was like, man, I hope they don't kill her off, but come on, this is a comic book. These are all the classic signs. It's like a war movie where the one guy's talking about, hey, when I get out of the war, I'm going to go to Yancey Street and get a big old hoagie. Next thing you know, boom, he's dead. She was doing all the classic, girlfriends who are about to die type of, lines, one-liners, and I was just like, oh, man.
I'm a fan of this thing, though, too, because, it's reality.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to have different relationships. Some are going to be single, some are going to be together, and some are going to have things like that. And it really was one of the things that I really liked about this book is between this entire team, you also get all different kinds of emotional response, and there's somebody for everybody to connect to, which is interesting.
Yeah. Now, back to Stormy and Condor. They're in Arizona, and they're there to pick up a friend. And at first I was like, what the heck are they talking about? And it's the mission, that secret mission that Sam sent them on. And as they're picking up the friend, all you see is just some bright light. And I initially thought, a ray? Is that another? Wait, why would they have 2 rays on the team?
Did you ever read the Ray?
No.
Any of the comics?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
My only exposure to the Ray was, he was in a Justice League, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I saw that.
So, yeah, that's what I was... Because I read the Ray, the Ray series. And I was really interested because this one was so different, the one that's been in this one. So I was like, huh.
Yeah.
Well, and especially, you read Infinite Crisis.
Yeah, so I saw the Ray, there.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah. But I didn't really know the guy.
So you didn't...
Yeah. But, I did think that, and it got me thinking, because earlier they had mentioned about how it's time to activate the traitor. And initially in my head, I'm like, okay, maybe the Ray on the team, when they were torturing him or doing an experiment, maybe they did something to him. Maybe they implanted a chip. Maybe they did something. And I was just thinking, I'm going through all these possibilities, because once you can't have really on a team 2 Rays. And I was thinking, I'm wondering if this Ray that I'm starting to like is going to be a guy I like in the end.
I've made a decision. When I join any superhero group, I am going to always have the attitude, and outwardly and inwardly, I'm glad to be here. I want to be here. I'm always going to be here. Yay, this is my destiny. You know those things? Because it's always the guy who is reluctantly there that's cannon fodder.
Yeah, we see this, and the thing, I was like kind of surprised because Red B has the red outfit, but this time red shirt actually wasn't the indicator, because she
was standing by him. Maybe Ray just missed.
Maybe Ray just missed. And actually, that would make more sense to me, because I never understood really why. We're jumping ahead. The Ray is the traitor, and he fries Invisible Hood. And he fries Invisible Hood after Hood says, you know what, guys? Sam, I don't want to do the superhero thing on a full-time basis. If you need me, call me, and I'll be there for you, man. I got your back, but this isn't the life for me.
Right.
Laser flies right through the chest. Down goes Invisible Hood. And I was just like, oh, no. And as I said, I was hoping maybe later in another issue we would see the Ray saying, Sam, I can't fight it, help me, or something like that, where something like was controlling the Ray, but doesn't end up being that way.
Interesting to have a Crimson Sky.
Yeah, and
which is, with Final Crisis and everything right now. Wow.
Yeah, and, basically, the issue ends with where we see what Gonzo's little plan for Sam is, as these huge, massively armored red type beastie demon type things start breaking through the Heartland. And just looking at them, just from that quick image of them, you're like, okay, this is going to be an interesting fight. What you going to do now, Sam? Okay, issue 7. I got a question for you. Now, did Daniel Acuna ever work on X-Men or anything like that? Do you know of?
I don't know his history. I know he's working over at Marvel now.
Because that cover of the baddies, demons. Tell me, when I first saw that, man, first thought that popped in my head was Magneto.
Oh, see, it's got that kind of vibe to it.
I had a Magneto type, Sentinel type vibe. So I was wondering if he worked there, maybe if he was. I don't know if he was.
But dude, you remember you're going to be inspired by comics that you've read and looked at and things like that. So there's a certain little bit of that.
Yeah, so I don't know, but it was also another cool cover.
Well, this is armor, though. Remember, they said it was a form of armor, so it's going to have a helmet.
Yeah, it's going to have all that. Yeah, I'm not saying he ripped it off.
No. I don't mean it that way. I'm saying, does it necessarily mean it's a Magneto reference? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm more addressing. I'm not saying that you were saying it was ripped off. I don't know that it necessarily implies that it could very well be. I can see both possibilities because historically, it looks like armor one way or the other, so I don't know.
The issue opens up, and we get Sam explaining in inner thought dialogue what they're actually up against. Back when Armstrong walked on the moon, there was a 5-minute period of footage that has never been seen. It was during this time that Armstrong discovered artifacts from some great cosmic battle that had been fought on the moon centuries before. Armor, weapons,
big
bodies,
sword
big,
line.
huge,
Awesome.
Massive type sword stuff. And it's these artifacts that Time and Gonzo were able to manipulate with additional magic and occult and the various technological science of Shade, and send these things into the Heartland. And the opening 2-page spread of these things are just, whoa. These are massive, godlike creatures that are just converging on them, and you got to stop and just take a second and look at these things, saying, "Okay, freedom fighters are screwed." This is just wow.
Freddie did this with Grodd. We were chatting with him, and I really, really liked it. I'm a fan of. I mean, sometimes, anytime you do this, it can be overused. But I'm a big fan of people that use it sparingly and save the looking up perspective for when you have big imposing.
Yeah.
Freddie did it well with Grodd. We see it here with these characters. I like this because it puts you in the perspective of being there. I feel like I'm standing there right now. I mean, how cool is that? Just holding it I'm holding it diagonally, looking right at him. Like I'm standing right there with him.
Yeah.
I eat that
cool
stuff.
Perspective. It was just a wonderful usage of the art, and it's your perspective. It's the color scheme, because these things are so massive, and they're all this bright red energy type of mystic power that. There's this heavy accent on the red, but it's not just red. There's the various tinges of red, the various usage of red in the shadowy type accenting of them. Plus, you have the characters offlaying it. You have a cool thing of the ray right there, so you have that bright white flash of the ray intermixed with all this red. Great use of colors, great use of just artwork here.
I like how we see the light source off of Uncle Sam, too.
Yeah.
You see it on his arm and everything. It's very cool.
Now, the team initially goes on the offensive, and you gotta like that. You're sitting there looking at these things saying, we're screwed, but you still gotta do a job. But they quickly realize it's like ants trying to stop an elephant, and which leads us to Human Bomb saying, okay, guys, I'm going in. Everyone fall back. I'm going nuclear. And I love the fact that Lester was concerned about his safety, and he even called him Andy, saying, dude, you can't do this. You could die from this. But Andy sees himself as the monster who destroyed, Bloodhaven. This is his reckoning. This is what he's got to do. And I was just like, true, cool, like kind of hero moments. And even Lester, is still kind of like, dude, you can't do that. He's like, I blame myself. I do. This is who I am. Just like you blame yourself for the murdering that drug dealer in front of those children. There is these little things inside each of them that... it's the motivation. It's what's pushing them to do their thing. And as, Andy removes the hood, we see this is a kid. This isn't an adult who's been going through all this stuff. And it kind of explains a lot of just his adolescent type not fitting in, his angst, because he is an adolescent. He's a kid. So not only does he have the regular teen angst going through, but the fact that he could explode at any given time. The fact that he is, slaughtered millions of people. He's done, he's been a murderer. He's been unwittingly used. It's, you really feel for this kid. And I'm like, oh, man. It's it's one of those another little tug at the heartstrings, but it's not pour on the waterworks. It's a great usage of the character, and it sets him up for stuff later that we'll see in the second series that he gets involved with. And I was like, oh, yes.
I like how we see here, too, because he is at this point considered to be the most powerful weapon, and just the reaction of his teammates to that. And even when Miss America grabs him, they're like, we're screwed. This is over. We're done.
Yeah.
And, even when Miss America catches him, they're thinking that maybe she'll be able to do something because, she's very powerful. But I like that. Firebrand is wrong. Hope is our greatest weapon. And the art scene right there, the way Sam is carrying himself behind Dollman and Emma.
Yeah.
Is just I'm like, ooh, he looks like an inspirational poster, like somebody overlooking, just this huge landscape or something like that in the midst of all this darkness.
Yeah, and I also digged when Andy was going in for the attack, going nuclear, he was saying the Lord's Prayer. Mm-hmm. That was a nice little touch that they didn't really need that in there, but it was just a little cool thing in there. It's kind of like that one last absolution. If I'm going to die
trying to
today,
redeem my soul.
Yeah, I want to redeem it, and I like that. It's a fitting thing. There's a lot of times where at the moment of death and destruction, people find religion really quickly, and we see that with him. But in a way, I felt it was genuine with him. I didn't feel it was let me cover my bases and I'll pretend like I believe in God. No, this kid actually did have some ideologies, and he's going to face his creator. He's figuring, this is it. I'm going to die. I'm going to face my creator. And that was another cool, the hero moments of the heroic sacrifice. Now,
the Ray stuff as Emma and Dollman are escaping.
Oh, man. And here's where, as Emma and Dollman are falling back, Ray swoops in and snatches her up. And I was thinking, here it comes. Here's the death of Emma. And it was like one of those things where I didn't want to turn the page. I didn't want to see what happens because I didn't want to see her die. I didn't want to see Lester go through that heartache. And
Well,
Emma
the
is
Hey
just,
Finhead stuff was...
yeah, well,
that was a pretty good indicator.
that let me know that everything was going to be okay because Emma fights back. And I like the fact that they're showing her as a person, as a character. She's not just Lester's girlfriend now. She's starting to become a freedom fighter. She throws a punch at him, hits him, and tries to do whatever. He's like, hey, I barely even felt that. Ah! As he drops her. Well, off camera, we see, hey, Finhead, can you feel this? Bam! As the Ray Terrell, the Ray swoops in, and it's a Ray versus Ray fight, and I was like, oh, cool.
I'm a big fan of this Ray costume, so I was when I saw the other Ray, I was like, oh man, because I like the Ray. It's interesting to see now that we went. I'm glad that he's in this.
Yes.
Because I love that costume. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, that is a cool looking costume.
Yeah.
And I like where they go with him in the next series as well.
Mm-hmm.
We keep mentioning this next series, but I tell you, if you didn't pick it up, if you like this one, pick up the next one. This has a lot of
And
those
if you
same
didn't pick up this
cool
one,
moments.
pick up both and just go ahead and
yeah.
grab the Battle for Bloodhaven too.
Yeah, it's a trifecta of goodness. Condor and Stormy, of course, return with the Ray, and we get the heroic moment of catching they catch Emma, she's safe. But one of the coolest lines in this thing was Condor. Everybody else saw all these things and they were kind of foreboding, like, oh no, what are we gonna do? Condor is actually looking forward to the battle.
Well,
Hang
on, just the Ray versus Ray battle, dude. There's a point in time where the two of them are face to face, and you just see this beautiful segment where their powers just give off this like wave of light. And, and it's a beautiful sequence with, basically the evil Ray is throwing everything in the kitchen sink he can at the Ray, and it's just woo.
Yeah, and some cool liners too. He's like, Ray is a family business, and you ain't
it's
family.
A legacy.
Yeah,
it's a legacy. So this is an insult not just to him, but
to his father.
Right, exactly, and that would be something where you are disgracing a family name.
And that is one of the cool things about the Freedom Fighters, that they are a legacy team. Mm-hmm. I like that about the JSA, and I like that about them. This fits them, that they would have these legacies, that these people would have a connection. Red B is the great niece of the original Red B. Stormy's not related to the other thing, but it's still, she came in. There's like a family feel to it, and I like that.
It's just like the JSA, how new characters came in, the new Mr. Terrific and the new Dr. Midnight and things like that. It takes me back to my childhood, though, because I remember the multiverse crossovers that used to occur in the books, and I remember seeing Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters there, along with the JSA and the JLA and things like that, and I'm like, oh, this is really nice to see. You go back to the original Crisis, and you see some of these characters, in the original Crisis, and it's like, ugh. That kind of history. A lot of times we get bogged down in worries about continuity, and there's too much of it and that type of thing. It's nice that there's a history, and that you can look back and you can pick up a trade from something in the past and see that these characters have a rich history. And yeah, some of these characters are new. For this particular series, they're brand new characters, or like you said, relatives of previous characters, but that legacy is still there. Same thing with the JSA. You can look back and read the Justice Society trades that took place in the old series by Paul Levitz and Joe Staton and people like that, and you can see that legacy there. Do you have to have read every single issue? No. You don't, but it's cool when you pick up the trade and say, wow, there's a history here. These characters have a legacy. They've been around a long time. It's not just something that's implied in the books. It's really there. You don't have to have read all that stuff. It's Batman's the greatest analogy. Yeah. I would love to read every issue of Batman. I've read a lot. I've read everything from the 80s on, and a decent amount of stuff in the 70s. The 70s was more broken because I was picking things up at newsstands at the time. But, geez, to be able to go back and reread all of that history would be wonderful. But, it's so hard to get a hold of all that stuff. But I'm not going to not read Batman because of it. So, right. That's the continuity thing. A lot of times, I think we all get way too worried about that. Little kids, in my classroom, when I put a trade in my classroom, they don't worry about that stuff, and we never did as kids, because you pick it up and just kind of read it, and you figure out along the way what's going on. This is a great example of that. It is very self-contained, true, but it does fit into continuity, and it does comment on continuity. This is all, a lot of this is spinning out of chemo being dropped on Bloodhaven.
Right.
And it's a natural reaction to what happened to all that.
And this is also feeding off of the anti-meta vibe we had when Wonder Woman, snapped Max Lord's neck. And you had the fall of the Trinity, if you will, after Infinite Crisis, where they disappeared. There was this lag that was needed.
And even the concepts of thought control and human control by a construct of the magicians of the anti-life equation. With what's going on here is very much is kind of a loose prelude to the concepts that are going on in Final Crisis. So it's really interesting. You don't have to read it on that level, but you can. And that's the nice thing about it. There's something here for everybody.
Now, Condor facing these beasts. Dude, and I digged it, because he not only was he looking forward to the fight, but he's like, you seem to have the power of a god. That pleases me. I am the god killer.
You know what? There's certain people that just can say whatever they want because of how they say it.
Yeah.
Black Condor is certain people.
Yeah, if I were to say a line like that to somebody, people would just fall down laughing. He can pull it off.
Oh,
He's got the right look for it.
He does.
Black Adam has the right look for it. Mm-hmm. I will even give your Hawkman the right look, the right attitude, where he could say something like that.
Dude, those comments are totally lost now after the Hawkman special episode, where you were going on and on about how I get it now, I understand all that, so you're done.
Oh, no, I'm saying I'm giving him a compliment.
You're like, you're Hawkman.
Oh,
you're sitting here like all of a sudden like, you're Hawkman. I'll even give you that. Like you're still a little snooty guy. You're done now. You're done. Yeah, you've lost all that. It's like your kryptonite gone.
Dang, man, that was fun.
I've got audio I can pull up now. And I will.
I know. The Hawkamaniac comment kind of put it.
You're done. You're done.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah. You're Hawkman.
Okay.
This is the part, though. Remember what we were talking about before? That those moments with Black Condor and Stormy, and what that conversation meant, and what he inspired her to do here. And this is a combination of him and Uncle Sam, and this is where I really connected with her, because we see her step up in a way that we have not seen.
Yeah, because as much as Condor's throwing down with these guys, he wasn't going to take them.
No.
They had enough power to take him, but she steps up, and she's like, remember when you said Human Bomb was our most powerful member? Well, I'm about to put that to the test.
No, exact words. Well, now I'm proving you wrong. Right then and there, it's not even an issue of I'm about to put that to the test. I'm proving you wrong. I am in your face, and I am telling you right now, watch this. She knew exactly what she was doing.
Oh, yeah. She opens up, uses her bands to open up, to basically teleport them to a black hole on the other side of the galaxy.
X1.
Yeah, I was just like, ooh, nice. I was like, at first I was like, is that even going to work? Can she do it to him? But it was, it's not just the power of the bands. It is their inner power. It is her personal willpower. It is her dedication, her faith, her hope, her belief, her just who she is, being the hero that they need at that time. I know in effect that it wasn't, if anybody else had strapped on those bands, they wouldn't have been able to pull that off. She was able to make it happen because who she is, because she is a hero, and because she was needed. Her team needed her, her country needed her. Hoorah, step up, knuckle up, and throw down. I was outstanding.
The race sequence here was
nice. Dude, talk about a cool beatdown. It was it was a heroic beatdown. The Ray took out the evil Ray, or whatever we want to call him, Stan Silver, whatever you want to go with. It was a nice, just the shifting between the visuals of all the fight sequencing. As I said, you had these heavy red undertones, but you had the splash of the bright colors when the Rays were fighting. You had the stuff when when Stormy was throwing down and opening up and snatching them, and snatching the things out, going back to bam, to the Heartland pop of the colors. You see just like the characters kind of beaten and tore down a little bit. Human bombs down and out. He does not have his containment suit on, yet they're able to actually hold him open-handed because he released all of his energy. There was just some cool visuals throughout the this ending of this fight, because it's definitely one of those moments where you see the team just go, we need to recover. And unfortunately, they got a job to do. It's not just, it's okay, we're not done. The bad guy's not defeated even. Well, the bad guy still has to be faced.
But even here, when you see these two fighting, one of the things I like, again, and it shows, this is why JSA works. This is why it's important to have characters that have links to the legacy. Characters that are a part of that legacy. He was part of the Freedom Fighters team. And he's sitting here, they were real heroes. They were my friends. They were killed in front of him, and he knows that. And that's something. Now you've got this guy, this, as he calls him, self-important piece of garbage. He is making a mockery of that legacy.
Yeah.
And those people. And he's looking at it as like, no. This is what those people had. This is what people need to be able to look up to, what those people were. You are not a freedom fighter.
Now here's my question for you. Mm-hmm. Do you think that Sam knew that the other Ray was a traitor? And that's why he sent Stormy and Condor to get Ray? Or did they just get a figuring? Did he figure, I can have two Rays on my team. We need the firepower. Because I go both ways on this one. I'm like, I don't know.
I can see both sides of it, too. My personal feeling is, you got to understand, I'm going under the theory that Red B and Invisible Hood guy, Sam planned all that. Sam knew that, he was going to need them. So I'm guessing in this case he knew the same thing. He just seems to be a strategist. There seems to be more to Sam.
He's covering all his bets.
Yeah.
He's making sure he's got his backup plan, his follow-up,
right.
What we got to do with this.
So I'm wondering if he saw the writing on the wall. His reaction. I don't know. Because it's never laid out here. And I like that kind of implied nature, because it goes back to, we don't know with Red B and Invisible Hood, really. I'm making an assumption.
Yeah. Well,
I'm making an assumption here, too. I'm making an assumption that, first of all, he called the Ray in for sure because of the legacy of the team, to just say, hey, I'm back up and active. Because the two of them went through a very emotionally disturbing thing. That's what put Sam out of action. We find later that's what, Father Time's whole motivation for all this was, I've got to get this guy back up on top of his game to do something that I don't think Father Time morally could do. I'm talking about, he couldn't inspire people in the way that Sam does, because he doesn't carry himself in that way. He can't be that inspiration. So he did what was right for the order that he wants for America. And that's the funny thing. Father Time, we learn, at Planet. So I don't know. I would guess Sam called him in for sure, because of the fact that, if I'm back up and running, I need to finally address with Ray, the only other survivor, that I'm sorry for what happened. I wish I could have saved them. I tried. And he did.
Yeah.
We saw that.
I remember he fought. Yeah. He fought as best he could, and it was just done.
Outnumbered, pummeled, and all that
outnumbered,
stuff.
outmanned, just muscled, and I still remember that. I didn't really know who the Freedom Fighters were. I recognized that obviously someone called Uncle Sam the Freedom Fighters had to be a legacy in the comics, and was it Grundy beat Human Bomb to death by he's hitting him. Ooh, pretty colors. Huh? Oh no,
it was Bizarro.
It was Bizarro. Sorry,
right.
Yeah, and he was like, ooh, pretty colors. Huh?
Pretty
no
lights,
more
I think.
pretty lights or whatever. Yeah, it's like no more lights, and I was like, oh man, that's wow. That was him bringing back the team was a cool moment, and I liked seeing Ray kind of get adjusted to the new team. Mm-hmm. There's obviously it's gonna be an emotional issue. He's seeing people who are, wearing the names of his friends. They're carrying on.
He wants to be brought up to speed. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah,
right
what's
now?
going on?
I
Sam?
need to
know. Yeah,
I like he's not just blindly.
Yeah. Plus, once again, I like seeing Emma have a personality. Because they're all talking about, well, we got to keep her out of harm's way. We got to protect the poor innocent woman. And she's like, hold on.
And she's not even involved.
Yeah, she's not even involved. She's like, hold on. I'm involved in this. When you guys kidnapped me and made me public enemy number one, I'm part of this team. And
also, though, when you teleported my house here.
Yeah. But yeah, she is definitely is a freedom fighter, and I like that she stands up and says, "Hey, I'm part of this team." And you know what? You think about it. She's a scientist. She's the person who's going to equip Lester with some cool stuff. Who knows what else she can come up with to be part of the team, to be an effective member of this unit. You need the brain. You need somebody who, okay, yeah, they're not going to run into battle and throw down, but hey, we got this freaky scientific thing. Oh, hey, let me disarm it. All you got to do is this. Boom. So I like it's building on her, making her more than just, window dressing. She's a functioning member of the team, and that was cool for me. I liked seeing that.
This is another one of my favorite bits because it set up something that I thought was the coolest twist in the series.
Oh, God, yeah. We're in the White House with Gonzo, and it's finally time for him just to let Father Time know, okay, you're not in charge anymore. I am. And really cool, just the classic evil villain moments as he's just sitting there looking at the TV, seeing that the RFD implants, they're going into the citizens, but it's not about tracking people, it's about mind control. Mm-hmm. And they're going to make everyone basically his unwitting zombie and do whatever he wants. Time is now recovered from his molting, and he's now got a newer, younger, and a new look to him. He's now African American, which we see later on in other adventures and other usages of Father Time.
And previously we saw
and previously as well. So we see that the character changes around a little bit, and I like the fact that
do you take this as like a regeneration?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I kind of figured maybe there was some changing either in the powers or his body mechanics or something like that, because there's something different about him, because while he was in his molting stage, Gonzo tried to implant a chip in him and couldn't because of the nature of his body.
Right.
It rejected it. So,
but also the Bride of Frankenstein pointed out, and he pointed out in that dialogue between the two of them, that he's actually stronger when he gets younger.
Yeah.
So it means he's been in that state before.
Yeah.
So, which we saw in Seven Soldiers, but it's nice because it puts in timeline-wise that the man has gone through this multiple times before. This is not the first time for this. So he knows what to expect. So this is actually a stronger Father Time.
Yeah. And as they're watching the TV, we're seeing the debates go back and forth about the RFID chips, is this, right and wrong? And as we said, it's stuff that is currently debated, and the stuff they were saying on there was a cool, just realistic argument, talking about how this is Big Brother watching now. It's the one side arguing, this is the loss of our civil liberties, while the other one saying, hey, we got to give up some freedoms for that security. If it keeps, some illegal immigrant from crossing over to my country, hey, I'm all for that. Well, are you really? Do you want to give up? Is that the one thing? Is that what you want to give up? Do you want to give up your freedoms? Do you want to give up your privacy? Is it worth what you're getting out of it? Especially with this little twist that these chips are going to, control your mind and take things to a whole new level. Now, as Time starts to see what's going on with Gonzo, it's, okay, we have a problem. And Gonzo is just continue on with his plan. He sees Time as a way, to continue on his plan. So in his mind, he's figuring, I have control, so you're not a threat to me, so I can use you in this plan. So he doesn't kill Time immediately, and I don't even know if he could really kill him, because he kind of reaches into Father Time's chest in one period of time, and normally I would think that would kill somebody, but Time kind of survives that. Mm-hmm. So there's the whether it's the nature of his powers, whether his body is a amorphosis type thing, so it's kind of like it's hard to do those type of damage to him. I'm not exactly sure, but it is cool to see.
Well, it's enough though to intimidate Time.
Yeah,
though, because I'm thinking if he took out his heart, he's done.
He should, in theory. Yeah. You would like to think usually if you take somebody's heart out, they die.
But I'm guessing in this
you never
case,
know in comic books.
He used it, just to clarify, as I grip your heart in my hand, you've proven useful to me so far, keep it that way. So I guess he's implying right here, yes, you can regenerate, but I can take out your heart at any point in time. So that would lead me to believe that that's a source of intimidation that's beyond anything that he would molt from.
Right, probably.
Yeah.
That's probably a thing where it just like
Interesting.
just like the whole. If you chop off someone's head, they're not going to come back from that. That's a good
No.
way to take someone
Yeah.
out as well.
Right.
Usually, when you're dealing with shape changers and whatnot, that's a hard one to heal from.
Right.
Now, we also learned that Gonzo's basic true purpose, his true design, was to spread chaos throughout this dimension. He's pretty much softening up the planet for things to come, and I like that. That is more to this. Once again, it's kind of feeding into what we see in, maybe in current Final Crisis we see now. I don't know if there's a direct connection or if it's just talking about the grand overall scheme that, that the bad guys had. It's one of those things where I could very easily say, yes, right here, this is a prequel to Final Crisis. Look, see, it's the
So wait, are you trying to tell me right now that you believe the big bad in Final Crisis is not Darkseid, but angry Muppet?
Could be. Or maybe, the Angry Muppet is being run by Darkseid.
Ah, there we go.
Because it is the math magicians of the anti-life equation that created and programmed Gonzo. So that could be, Darkseid's crew.
Sure.
So I don't know.
His posse.
Yeah, and I'm reaching here.
Wouldn't the math magicians of the anti-life equation, though, be more powerful on some level? Because aren't the math magicians the ones that created the anti-life equation that Darkseid was seeking?
See, I don't know. I thought it was like, people who studied the anti-life, not the people who created it. People who seek the power of the
math
anti-life
magicians of the
equation.
anti-life equation would imply to me that they're the ones who created.
Yes, I don't
math
know.
was created by mathematicians throughout history. I mean, that's where the math that we use today comes from. It was honed and refined over time, but I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, see, and I'm wondering if there is that connection or not.
Because Darkseid was always seeking the anti-life equation. That's something that goes throughout history of it. So it's interesting to see this brought into here. I didn't expect that in Uncle Sam, and it's interesting to see that being brought into all this.
Yeah.
This series is so cool.
I know, and also I digged, just Gonzo's thought process, because you figure he tries to put the chip in time. He can't put it in time, but he's going to put chips in all of the Shade operatives, all of the First Strike people, while time is down. The only people who do not have it is the Replicant, who we've seen before in Battle for Bloodhaven, and the Bride and Time. That's it. And I was like, oh, nice plan. He's covering his bases. Yes, the rest of the population is going to start happening, but before that happens, I want to make sure I control the powerhouses.
These are important lines. My goal is to bring order to the world. Gonzo now threatens that order. We must alter our plans for the time being. Now, here's the interesting part. I like that even here, from what we find out in Issue 8, Time doesn't reveal the full scope of his plan. He keeps things close to the cuff, and that's the sign of a good strategist, because a lot of times a plan goes awry because they reveal too much of it too soon, and people react accordingly. He's not telling anybody.
At first, I figured Replicant and Bride were on it, but they weren't.
They aren't. No, they didn't know.
They were being told as it's a need-to-know basis. They were learning exactly what they needed to know to execute the plan that Time wanted. And I was digging that, because this is a cool just usage of a villain character who... Is he a villain? Is he a good guy? You can sit back and you can argue the case. It's one of those... Is it justifiable to kill off one person to save a million?
Achieve his goal.
Yeah.
It's what he needs to be to achieve his goal. That's what he is. And I think he would say that. I'm a patriot. My goal is to bring order to the country. I'm what I need to be to achieve that goal.
And
it doesn't matter good guy, bad guy. What matters is the overall goal to bring order.
And yeah. I'm not arguing. I agree.
No, that's what I like about it. I actually like that about the character.
It's the whole, though, you look at it, is it okay to kill one person to save a million? You ask, like, Superman, he'd say no. You ask other heroes, they'd say yes. It's, do the ends justify the means? And that is another thing that you look at a lot of governments, you look at a lot of military, they ask that question, acceptable losses. What is an acceptable loss? Depends on who you ask. Some would say 0. Some would say, yeah, we're going to lose a couple soldiers in the fight.
But not even just to save millions.
As long as we win.
Not even just to save millions, to save an ideology, to save an overall goal, an overall concept for what you are shaping the country to be, or what you're trying to...
instill, inspire, and create,
exactly.
And bring back.
So what would you do to achieve those goals? I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting.
And you look at like the 9/11 conspiracy people. They of course say that the U.S. government did the attack on 9/11. That they planted bombs. There's some people who say they planted charges in the towers and brought it down. And there's thousands of conspiracies out there. Now, when you look at the surface, like why would the government do that? Well, take a look at what's happened since then. We've basically green-lighted a war. We've green-lighted different laws and whatnot.
And this plays off of that.
So it's the same type of thing. Is it right? Is it acceptable? Would you do this? And I'm like, wow, it's... on the surface, this is just a comic book about a patriotic superhero team. But underneath that layer, there is more to this. And that was something that really struck me with this.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant. It's Gray and Palmiotti again. I mean, this is just this is a writing team that DC has a lot of just wonderful writing teams.
Yeah, they got some powerhouses.
Writers in general.
They got some powerhouses.
Yeah, and this is a powerhouse writing. I mean, it's.
In Gotham, we see Stormy, Firebrand, and Condor in their civilian attire getting a beer. Basically, it's we're about to go into major battle. We need just a downtime. We need to just, turn it off for a second because you need that moment of rest. And I like seeing Condor in civilian attire. I was worried that the stuff was permanently grafted to his body and he could never turn it off. He could never go back to being John.
And it looked like it with the way it was attached to him.
As they're sitting around there, though, Replicant sends an android/robot type interface to them. And immediately Condor recognizes that's not natural. He knows that's not a person approaching him, and he's getting ready to throw down.
That is Replicant, right? Isn't that from the way the brains are inside the... I took it as...
That actually is Replicant? I took it as...
It looks like there's many replicants.
Yeah. Okay, I took
remember
it as...
we've seen already...
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
But we've seen... Was it Final Crisis that we saw Replicant? Like 20 replicants hanging and skewered? And where did we see that recently? One of the books, we saw Replicant torn to shreds recently. You know what I'm talking about? The green replicants, they were all, the green outfits, and there was like the same thing. We just saw it recently.
Oh, yeah.
That's Replicant.
Oh, okay.
So there's more than one replicant.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's the same replicant,
entity,
but it looks like it's recreated over and over again. Because remember, when he's talking to Replicant, it's all these brains in these tubes. So I'm guessing all of them are the same entity, but then these brains can be put into different constructs, but it's the same entity, all interconnected.
Okay.
I'm guessing. I don't know. I mean, I'm throwing out there where my head's at. I don't know if I'm not saying I'm 100% right. That's what I'm taking. How are you taking this?
Well, I was taking it as it's like a robot construct by Replicant. Replicant speaking through him.
That would be the body for the brains.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think the brains actually left that power. I didn't think they left that room. They stayed there,
and
they're
controlling it from that room.
Right. That's what I took it as.
I guess I'm taking it as one of the brains went in there, and Either way,
it is Replicant, and
because it has a lot more brutality. The fact that we've seen them skewered. I'm trying to remember where, because I've read so many books recently, but we've just seen them recently brutally skewered, a whole bunch of them. They were mangled in horrible ways. Each one of them very differently. So we've recently, in recent continuity, seen replicants. I'm not sure if there is replicant anymore.
I don't know. But Stormy actually says, hold on, I know who this is. What's going on? And Replicant gives them the evidence they need to expose, Gonzo. It's not only to expose Gonzo, but just his whole plans. Here's what he's doing. Here's how you got to fight it and whatnot. And I like the fact that Stormy initially, she wants to lash out, but once again, it's Condor who is the voice of reason to her. It's like... focus on the mission. The safety of the nation is our sole priority. And again, you see a cool team between these two that I was like, yeah, I like that. This is building for something more between them.
Imagine their supplies. They pop it into a music player. It's Dr. Teeth and the Muppet Show Band. Washington, D.C.
Yeah, at the White House, Gonzo is holding his press conference. And it's, one, the new identification law goes into effect tomorrow, and he wants to take the time to present his new metahuman defensive team. And it's this really cool, just laid out of all the bad guys, all the press, and the people. Naturally, you'd figure there would be a crowd. This is something huge. This president is at an all-time high in approval rating because the people see him as the type of president who steps up and takes command. He's going to help us fight this evil empire that's looming over us. And
it also appears like he's empowering them, though.
Right.
Saying that, we don't need these other metahumans anymore. I have our own American metahumans that are our police force that we control versus the superheroes that are looking outward and, we have no control over. They're vigilantes. They keep kind of doing their own thing. These are people that are fighting for our Constitution and, all the... they're under our control. They're our police force.
They're our people. They're our heroes. And it's I like that. It's a cool play on people's fears, and then you get them scared, and then you present to them their savior.
But also saying here we need to take almost like he's asking for a martial law at this point. Saying
he's one step away from it, and it's about to cross over the line. And the issue ends as we see, it's. Well, as the press count, the booming voice of saying that Gonzo is not human. He is a robot. He is a construct. He has been, against what you want. And you go flash over, you see the giant Sam standing next to the Washington Monument as he's, it's Uncle Sam standing there. And I was just like, oh, cool way, just to show him, just basically to reveal him really to the people. Because at this point in time, they'd only talked about the terrorist cell Uncle Sam. They never really showed the guy. Well, now you're seeing him. And naturally, we see the video of...
Wait, hold on. Oh. This is just a great speech from Uncle Sam because it's really important. At this point in time, you figure he's been on posters and things like that, and he knows that. Do not be afraid. I have never been, nor will I ever be, a traitor to this country. I love her dearly. My name is Uncle Sam, and I am not a fictitious creation. And I ain't a recruitment poster. I am the servant of the will of the people. I have come here because the national identification law is a sham, and the implants are designed to control you, not to make you safer. Look at our monitors. And he's throwing out there, that's what he throws out. And the important part of that one is he's saying, they're taking away your freedom and civil liberties, and I am here to protect that. I am here to protect your individuality, to give you the opportunity to rise to your individual ideals and all that. I love that. I just eating that up.
And this is just, it's classic Sam, hoorah, America moments that is, you got to eat it up. And they show everyone the video of the Gonzo killing the real Senator Knight, and it's
notice that Gonzo stopped it, though, before they got to the bit where he was dancing with him.
Yeah, why did he do that?
Just because he recognized. He's like, you know what, this is just bad.
But I do like Gonzo then activates the chip in his people and says, as your president, attack. And the issue ends with them unleashing everything they have at Uncle Sam.
And it's really an impressive-looking team coming at him because you've got the people from Bloodhaven, you've got that whole team there, and of course Ray's back up again and very angry.
Yeah, he's a little mad. Now, do you think Ray actually has an RFID chip in him, or is he just going along with Gonzo's plan?
I don't think he cares at this point.
Yeah, he wants some payback.
A world of payback.
Yeah, he wants some payback against Sam, and I can see him.
I'm guessing he has a chip in him. Well, no, he does. We know he's got a chip in him because Father Time revealed that. Father Time already revealed that.
Oh, okay.
Remember? Father Time, it was only Father Time, Bride, and Replicant who don't.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, no, we already know he does.
He's got a chip in him. Yeah. Okay. Now, we definitely have to talk about this cover because as much as I loved that other cover of Sam, and Chains, this is my favorite cover. This is the one I was like, I took, this. Well,
it's a direct response to the ending panel on the last page of issue 7, which is really great because if you take a look at that and then you look at this right here, Sam is rallying the troops.
Yeah, and you got
He's sallying the troops.
He's sallying the troops. You got Sam with the full freedom fighters right there. They're coming out of the pages right towards you. I was like, I ate that up. I was like, oh, this is a cool looking cover. This here is a poster. This is definitely the kind of poster I would like to see.
I remember closing this at the end, and I'm like, 8 of 8. Where's 9? Come on, 9.
Yeah, I know. I so wanted this to. I so wanted them to say, we've decided we're going to make this a monthly now, and just continue on 9, 10, 11, 12, etc.
And forget, okay, if you're not going to do a monthly, that's fine. Where are we going to get the announcement of another mini?
Yeah, we need
I
a
hope
third.
the second one did well. I'm hoping it did. I don't know. I didn't. I want to check up on the numbers on that one, but it's just this is really one where if you liked this one, please pick up the second trade because those kind of numbers have to show something. So I can't encourage people enough and get this for somebody really who would enjoy this type of thing because this is really just a well-written book. And I do think, just because of the characters, Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters, maybe a lot of people don't know them, but a lot of people who would really enjoy this type of storytelling might have missed this one.
Yeah. Issue opens up with newscasts, basically, trying to identify what exactly happens at the White House. Gonzo has been exposed, and the people are starting to see, especially the newscasts, are starting to see that, Sam is one of the good guys. He's been reported as a terrorist, but maybe he is the only one who can stop this, who can save us. And at first I was like, man, yeah, I like when the newscasters do this. It's a cool story element. But on this, it has so many other levels because Sam's always said he has to have the people behind him. And right here, we are starting to see the national news, that people across this country looking on this and starting to say, oh, yeah, come on, Sam, take him down, Sam. I can imagine in bars there are probably, people sitting around watching this going, oh man, come on, Sam, come on, it's kind of that, that USA chant going on as, this fight is going on, because this is, the rallying of a country. This is the turning of the corner saying, yeah, we've been kind of duped here. We need to step up. Hold on. Who's the real crook here? Oh my God, the guy we thought was a terrorist is really our hero. We got to do something about this. I ate that up. I was like, cool stuff.
I love seeing Uncle Sam on the double-page spread here.
Yeah.
Just that look. And here's one thing I noticed. When he's taller, I like that his word balloons get much bigger to show that because he's so much bigger, he's going to have this booming voice. Even when he's just talking regular, just talking a regular tone, there's something going to be large in life about it. The word balloons and the words themselves are actually much bigger at that moment.
The lettering, they increase the lettering size and all that, and you can see it when he shrinks down later that it goes back down. Yeah, that is a cool little thing that, I'm assuming that was letterer or maybe that's script, I don't know.
Probably a combo.
This was a good team, so I can see them working well together, saying, hey, what about this idea? I can just, in the back of my head, I can probably picture, something going on,
And the lettering, and I gotta say, the lettering balloons as far as the newscast, that type of thing. I mean, they're just little things to set the tone that, hey, with the little static on the outside, this is a broadcast versus a standard balloon, and just little tiny things like that really set a mood and put you in a certain place. Like, this is a radio themed thing or a television themed thing, and then we've got Uncle Sam over here who's just larger than life. It's great.
Yeah. Now, the initial battle starts off, and it was weird because I didn't notice it for, initially I was like, wait a minute, where's the rest of the Freedom Fighters? Because at first we only see Sam. We see basically all of First Strike, all of Shade attacking this giant-sized Sam. And yeah, as he's throwing down, he's also protecting the civilians. And I like that. And as he's doing this, he's doing more of his patriotic pep rally. And at first I figured, okay, he's trying to inspire these people who are attacking him to fight the RFID chip. But as it goes on, I'm like, no, he's not talking to them. He's talking to the people that are there. He's talking to the news cameras that are broadcasting his message. This is a rally call to the country, not to the people that are just there. He talks about how you have to remember, Bloodhaven. Remember what it felt like when you saw all those people die. Remember what it was to be helpless when your country is falling down. We've been beaten. We've been knocked down. We've been smacked around a little bit. We need to rally. We need to step up. We need to do this. And, as you're just going on, he's throwing, he's swinging, he's fighting, but he's also sacrifices. He takes some massive blows as he catches a helicopter that's about to fall.
He takes out the Washington Monument.
Well, they knock him into the Washington Monument. Then they pick it up and slam it on him, which tell you think about it. You're sitting there watching this. The Washington Monument, just this, the monument to our first president, a lot of times a very sacred something, that usually gets broken up very quickly in any comic book, but it's to see someone pick it up and slam it on Uncle Sam, the spirit of America, that would piss me off.
Dude, I was more afraid for the guy wearing the Greatest American Hero t-shirt.
Dude, I didn't even notice that. Sweet.
During that whole fight, and then you got the gigolo guy. And all that. I love those little details, tiny little things like that. I appreciated that. Little geek reference that, if it catches your eye, it's kind of a cool little thing. I agree with you, though. The sheer amount of power on those tiny, that as they were flying, that they're like, what are you going to hit a guy the size of Uncle Sam with? A monument.
Yeah, you're going to hit him with a mountain. So you're going to hit him with anything that's as large as he is just to try to do some damage. And they start to do the damage. And he starts to shrink down, and you can start to see the people saying, hey, what are you doing, man? That guy just sacrificed himself to save us. You leave Uncle Sam alone. And you get that, that crowd reaction where they start picking up bricks. They start picking up rocks, and they start throwing them.
This is what Father Time wanted, though.
Right. They wanted the rally of the people. And Sam wanted the rally of the people. And as soon as he gets this, as soon as he gets these people saying, hey, you leave him alone. You want him, you're going to have to go through us type mentality. And I eat it up. We saw it in Spider-Man movies multiple times where every time you know what's coming, but you're still like, yeah, that's the kind of guy you want to think you would be. If I was standing there, I would like to think that as soon as the first sign of action, I wouldn't have taken off running. I would have been like, okay, I got to help out Sam here. You want to think that you would have that heroics in you. And just as the people start to step up, just as they start becoming active targets for the bad guys, that's when the freedom fighters show up. They're waiting in the wings. They're waiting for that moment when it's time for us to strike. Now is the time.
Phantom Lady opens up that portal, and they all come flying through. And oh my gosh, that we talk about certain things that need to be posters. That's another one.
Yeah, nice, beautiful two-page spread of them coming in. With the bad guys, they're heroes. Okay, we're in for a major fight sequence now, and I was just like, looking forward to it, man.
It's been a great episode to record.
I know.
Because just so much between this and Secret Six, just to talk about it, I'm like, ooh, a lot of comic-y goodness this week.
I tell you, and not only was this cool looking, a well-written story, I do like the fact that intermixed with this, we have this team dynamics. It shows a longevity, a future longevity of this team. And plus, you have the little inner dialogues of, Andy has his issues with the fact that he once again is throwing down with people from Bloodhaven. He already destroyed a lot of these people. Now he has to do it again. But the country needs him. It's what he's got to do. So there's that whole issue. You got issues with Condor, with Stormy. They got to, do their thing. They have a job to do.
This bit with Black Condor, before you even get to that, you're outnumbered, Black Condor. Your numbers are meaningless. The wind knows no opposition. I just like the way he carries himself is just stellar.
Yeah, and
that's one of those areas where he's one of those standout characters for me in this series that I can't get enough of.
Yeah, and and it's just like Miss America. She's flexing her muscle. We see some cool stuff with Firebrand and Red Bee. These are team playing. This is team dynamics, team fighting.
We see her connection with nature again too.
Yeah,
because the roots actually reach up to take out her opponent, and I just love that.
Yeah,
you think this is the new Spin Doctor?
Who?
This guy that she's fighting.
The guy in red?
Who is that guy she's fighting?
I kind of took it as Americommando, just without the armor. Because it's got the same white head, but it's a red body.
I was wondering because of the speed.
It could be the new Spin Doctor, or
maybe Americommando is just those. And I now that you say Americommando, I just was wondering, is this naked red guy running around?
I don't know. They really didn't give a name of the guy, but he's a powerhouse.
He is.
You can see that, and it's once again, they're active. Who knows how many of the Bloodhaven people they had just waiting in the wings? He could be somebody completely different. That we got to call up every force that I have. This was the big play that.
Americommando does make sense, though.
Yeah.
With the fact that he's one of the ones leading the rally charge, so. You're right.
So I don't know. There's so many options out there, but in truth, it really doesn't matter because you see the purpose of him, and
I'm just laughing. I'm looking at Railgun.
Yeah,
just
the dude didn't learn the first time.
No,
and I love that. Once again, it's different between amateur and professional. Lester shoots 2 missiles at him, and they miss, and the guy's like, "Ha ha, you missed." Yeah. No, he wasn't aiming for your face. You see the thing in a beautiful artwork. Sees it swing back around, bam, hits him in the side of the head. I chuckled. I was like, yes, because you knew it was coming. Like, dummy, you didn't think.
I like that Sam defends Father Time to a certain extent.
Yeah.
He doesn't want us dead. He's too clever for that.
Well, Sam, I think, has figured out by now what Time's plan all along. Mm-hmm. And as the fight is going on, we see Time head into the Oval Office and confront Gonzo. And this is where it finally is ultimately revealed that, yes, the Gonzo attempt to take over the world wasn't part of the plan, but he wasn't really being played by Gonzo the whole time. He wanted to inspire Sam. He wanted this opposition of a death to freedom to inspire, to awaken, to bring back Uncle Sam, because the country did need him. The country needed him and the freedom fighters. They needed a metahuman team that would fight for the rights and freedoms of America, not for, just to be vigilantes.
Interesting that he brings up the shadow demons from Crisis.
Yeah.
And that they're the mathematicians of the anti-life equation. So, that's the interesting part, because they used to work for the Anti-Monitor.
Right.
So who are they allied with now, and what's going on? This is interesting.
Yeah, and
this is something that we've yet to see.
Yeah, and that's why I'm wondering, will we see this in Final Crisis? Will we see this now? Or is this something that, will play out in issue 3, in the 3rd miniseries? Or is this something they're laying down for that? I don't know.
Shadow demons almost have to appear in some capacity in Final Crisis.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I love that he turns them into glasses.
Yeah. And that's another cool thing. It's, he basically takes out Gonzo in a really cool way. He takes the energy that they pretty much borrowed from the Atomic Knight, which we know the Atomic Knights use some apocalyptic technology, don't they? Mm-hmm. Okay, so they had that. Then he basically breaks down everything that is, a sentient being that is Gonzo's. The physical makeup of him, breaking him down to a simple reoccurring equation, and stores those into this energy ball, which transforms into glasses that he wears. And even, Time says...
They still use the technology.
Yeah, I'll use this later for the stuff to come. So there's even more stuff that is out there that is going to hit out, that's going to hit later. So once again, I was like...
But I like that.
Yeah.
The counterfeit soul inside you will be extinguished. Only the machine will remain as an endless wall of source code. I intend to use you against them when the time comes. So he's planning and preparing ahead of time for...
the return of the shadow demons.
Yeah.
That's how I took it. So then...
And we're seeing him now in Final Crisis.
Right. So
yeah, this is set up.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. They talk about when the creators of this, when we go through the creators, they always say based on concepts developed by Grant Morrison. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if...
This was part of that big master plan.
Right. So it's like,
The execution by Grant Palmiotti is brilliant.
Oh, God, yeah.
However the concepts worked, I'm not sure how that works on paper or anything like that, but you can have a great concept, but if you don't have great execution, the concept gets lost, and the execution here is brilliant.
Oh, dude. Big time. And,
we saw the same thing with All New Adam.
Yeah. Graham Palmiotti is a team that I haven't really gushed a lot about, if looking at this past history, the show. But they are a team that whenever I read them, I'm like, yeah, I like their style. I like their flow.
Well, Hawkman was, for me, when that Hawkman series, when they were on it, we did that on the show.
Yeah.
And that Golden Eagle stuff, brilliant.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. And when they did the countdown stuff, we always talked how we liked how they segued from one part to another part. When they were the prime writers of the countdown segment, like, we like this style. This is how I want to see these interconnections. And this is just a really outstanding team that I enjoy reading it, and they are a draw for me. As much as, Gail Simone and Jeff Johns are, this, if I see something's written by Graham Palmiotti, I will give it a read. Just because
they're in
of
that category.
Name. Yeah.
They're in that category. There's certain writers and creative teams that I will just pick up stuff for just on name value.
Yeah.
And I'll walk in there and be like, you know what? They always deliver for me. And you just see Johns, Simone, these guys. I mean, these are people who are just, you know what it is? It's consistency.
Yeah.
You pick up a book, no matter what the concept is, they're going to entertain you, they're going to deliver something. And that's the nice thing. The names we're mentioning, on the surface, you kind of put them all together. But then when you break it down, very different things about each of them, which round off your reading selections, which is awesome. That's one of the nice things is you get a unique experience, nothing cookie cutter. These people are really kind of doing something to shake it up a bit.
Yeah, they turn it up a notch.
Yeah.
Once time basically takes out Gonzo, we see Replicant start pulling the team, teleportation, liquid teleportation, whatever, pulling the Shade forces out of there. And immediately, the freedom fighters go to cleanup mode, to rescue mode, to you got to tend to your injured civilians. And we always talk about that is a sign of a hero team. They're not just going to think about beating the heck out of the bad guys. They're going to think about the innocent lives that could be lost. And that was some cool stuff with, we see Miss America really flex some powerful muscle in the healing of a bunch of injured civilians.
We've seen her bring those flowers to life. We've seen her bring those roots to life. She obviously has a connection with the nature. Maybe a connection with the land itself.
Yeah, if Sam is the
life of America.
Yeah, Sam's the spirit. She's maybe the lifeblood of it. I don't know. Yeah, I'd like to learn more about her as well. Yeah, she's another character.
This is fun.
Now, I do like the fact that immediately we see the reporters go after Sam, and they want to get information. That's a natural reporter action, was it Ventura used to call them jackals because they used to just swarm in, and you see that kind of mentality where they're running in, and Sam's sitting there helping a civilian who's injured. And they're like, "Hey, Sam, can we get a question?" And I kind of chuckled when I saw it. I'm like, dude, there's a time and place for the big scoop. Now is not the time, but Sam is Sam, and he's just. It's not about him. It's about the people who stepped up. It's about the Americans who fought for their ideology, who fought for freedom, who, it's the unsung heroes that, did that. And I love the fact that they're like, you're around. What are you going to, they're going to reelect a new president. Do you have any message to to that person? He's like, yes. We'll be watching. And it's just a cool final panel of all the freedom fighters standing right there. Sam Center, he's got the battle damage on his clothing. It's that gritty, true grit type of...
I like that he also, though, cleared the name of Senator Knight.
Yeah.
He talked about what a great man that he was, and basically showed that he does support political leaders. It's not all, I'm out here, I'm about this country, I'm about what's good about this country, and Senator Knight was what was good about this country. And here's why. And, he could have realized his dream to be a great leader, but Gonzo took that away from him. And that was... it's really kind of a cool moment for me. I'm like, okay, that's important dialogue to see from Sam because we want to see that connection to the system, so to speak, and that he does believe in it.
Yeah.
When the right people are there and,
And he's not a Republican. He's not a Democrat. Mm-hmm. He's an American. Right. And part of being an America is supporting your country, supporting your government, supporting the laws we have in place. He's multiple times, he said, whenever they're dealing with a bad guy, we're not going to kill him. The law will deal with him. Right. That is, and... Once again, he continues, it's a consistency with him. This isn't just lip service he gives. This is who he is. This is his being. He can't go against it because it would be like going against, what your heart and soul. And that's not Sam. And, I eat it up because this is a patriotic hero who's not just being patriotic. He is a true patriot, and he
believes it and he lives it.
Exactly. The series wraps up with a 1 week later where the full team is visiting the acting president, the previous vice president. And it's a cool, it's a state dinner. So they're all kind of dressed up nicely. Even Sam's kind of a little bit fancy, his fancy garb. And pretty much the president asks them, hey, we're going to rebuild Shade, but this time we're going to do it right. Father Time's missing, and even if he was around, I'd have him arrested. I've seen what he's done. He's twisted everything, and we want to put this country back on the right path. We need you for Shade. We need you to protect this country. Will you answer the call? And it's some cool banter with them where they're talking about their ideology. And it's, yes, we got some liberals here. We have some conservatives on this team. And he's like, hey, I know your beliefs. I'm not asking you to be a Democrat or Republican. I'm asking you to do what's right for this country. And it's a lot of that the same pep talk that Sam gave. We're now hearing it from the president. Well, the acting president, whatever, maybe he becomes the real president. I'm not sure. But we're hearing that same ideology.
No, the vice president does become, based on the death.
Right, but I don't know if they're going to do another special election or do something else.
Oh, because of the fact, too, that they were elected under false pretenses.
Yeah, they were elected under false, because it
wasn't really him that was elected. It was,
right, so I don't know what actually they did. I can't remember in this, because I know in the regular comics they do address that that there was there was a new election and all that stuff, so I don't know if this guy wins, but at the time he's being a president, and he's acting very presidential, and I was eating that up because you could hear Sam say exactly this type of speeches, and one by one, well, first off, Lester starts off saying, hey, I'm retired. I've been the soldier. I'm done. And I like that because you see, this is a guy who he needs his break. He needs his time in the heartland. He's going to spend it with his woman. They're going to, be fruitful and multiply. They're going to do whatever they're going to do.
And Red B.
Yeah.
Red B's like us.
Yeah.
You're going to go on for like 20 minutes about that. Yeah, I got it. They're going to go, I got it.
Yeah. Hey, come on. But, but it does fit.
No, Red B, though, no, seriously, I'm not kidding about that. The one thing about Red B, one small, simple line, I feel like I was born to do this. I'm in. Her enthusiasm is our enthusiasm. She's us.
Yeah.
The one character in this whole thing I think that we all can relate to is we all want to be the hero that can be on the team. Yes, I'm here. I made it.
I know.
All that stuff.
Woo-hoo, all right. Yeah. And of course, Firebrand is the flaming liberal who's like, hey, I got to represent and, represent my cause and represent as the only liberal here. I got to step up. So he's in. And I loved Ray's reaction, though. Ray was like, hey, I only work for one man, and that man is Uncle Sam. If he's in, I'm only in if he's in. And that was a cool thing because he is basically the only survivor from the original team. Well, yeah. So it's cool that he has still that connection, that's still that loyalty.
The bit with Phantom Lady was one that I really connected with because it's funny. In the beginning of this, I thought she was an interesting character, but I wasn't like really kind of a Phantom Lady fan. As this story progressed, I really got into her as a character. It's cool to see her now where before, if you had asked her, she wanted nothing but to get out of all this.
Yeah.
Now she's like...
She's part of this team. This is her.
Yeah, and she wants to be there.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to... She's not going to outwardly admit it like Red B did.
Right.
But she just as much wants to be there. And Sam at the end
was, the final panel, which was actually priceless for me because he's like, Sam's like, you can't have the freedom fighters without Uncle Sam, and he's kind of standing
whipping
there,
everybody into shape and all that stuff.
Yeah, he's standing there. He's got a pose that I've seen Lincoln have that same pose in paintings and drawings of him. It's a very period look, but it was like
and he's dressed that way too. With the way that his hair's done up and the and the ribbon in the back and everything. It's very much a very classic look to him that is just really fantastic.
Yeah,
I loved this.
I know.
I really loved this. It's funny, it was one of those that I was excited when D. Goodhart first asked for it, and I was kind of like, well, this fits kind of the direction we're heading anyway, that we want to do a bi-monthly thing, so it fit, at that time, because we didn't have one. And it really was an issue of Gray and Palmiotti are somebody we've wanted to talk about, and it ties so much And, kind of like a prelude of sorts into Final Crisis, you can argue the themes are set up. It isn't, you don't have to read this to understand Final Crisis or anything like that. Everyone gets so worried about, well, geez, this hinted at it and all that. No, you don't have to read this for that purpose. You read this because it was a good story. The cool part is, not only do you get a fantastic story here, there's some threads where you're going to be like, wow, this actually really has impact on the universe in its own way, and there's themes here that are built. Themes. You don't have to read it. There's no event in this that's being referenced directly in Final Crisis right now, so you don't have to have read this. But the cool part is, if you are reading Final Crisis, you get a little bonus. If you're not, it's a good story on its own.
Yeah.
No, I take it back. It's a great story on its own.
It's funny. The people at work, some of them know I do this. Some actually I have a couple people who I work with who've listened to the show and who enjoy the show, and then there's some that they know about it, but they're quickly learning. Don't ask Jim, hey, so what are you doing next on your show? Because I had someone today ask me, hey, what are you guys doing next? And I could just see the glazed look in their face going, oh, God, why did I ask? Why did I ask? Because I just kept going on just this whole patriotic.
You should have just told them to listen.
I could have would very easily, but it's just one of those things where I just started gushing, and right then and there, just talking about how this is just cool patriotic. And then I started talking about just with the RFID chips, the kind of twisting of the USA Patriot Act, and there's all this stuff that we're kind of seeing now. I'm like, oh, and
so you're giving them the magic.
Yeah, I was giving them the magic, the magic, jazz hands.
Oh my God. I've noticed you don't do the Watish anymore. Now it's all jazz hands.
Well, yeah, I still do it.
When? When? When was the last time you've done a Watish?
Actually, I've done the Watishes more live now. I give people live Watishes.
Really? Yeah. So how many people out of the show listeners have actually heard a Watish?
I don't know.
5?
I think there's more than 5 people who've heard of
like
Watish.
Jazz hands, what's that? Watish was like, a signature thing.
I'm
disappointed.
You got to change it up,
I'm
man.
disappointed.
You got to mix it up. You got to, as soon as you know the questions, I change the answers.
Your thinking was, I'm going to go from Watish to jazz hands as a step up?
I'm thinking it's different. Not up, not down. Okay. It's something new. It's something, you're never going to see it coming, man. I'm the magic man. It's the sleight of hand, the flip-flop, the beam-bam. You never know what's going to come out of my mouth.
No. Times when I wish I had a muzzle. The jazz hands.
Yeah.
This is great. This is what you did. Thanks for taking the lead on this one, actually, because especially with me going back to work and all that, trying to do the lead on 7 Soldiers and then the lead on this back to back, just would have been an impossibility. Well, and it's I really
been, yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't even so much that. It was a joy to talk about this and prepare to talk about this. But we got these bumped back to back because of our Gypsy Cafe episode and our Batman episode. So I'm glad we got to do this. So it's really cool. But thank you for taking the lead on this. It's actually really fun to have done one of these with you in the lead position, because I got to kind of experience this in a different way. It was fun for me. So cool.
Hi, Sean. Hey, Jim. This is Eric, Greencap from the forums. Just wanted to give your voicemail a test out. This voicemail call, I just wanted to say I have greatly been enjoying the current GOG storyline running in JSA. I hands down think that JSA is one of the best comics running in DC right now. It's a very slow burn type of story. At times seems like, the storyline's been going on forever, but just every part keeps coming out and makes me want more and more. Really great stuff. I'm kind of excited about the specials that are solicited in this month's previews. Definitely wanted to make sure everybody got a chance to see that. It's going to be the finale, if not just a continuation. I believe it's leading up to the finale of the whole GOG story. Great stuff. Jeff Johns is just really doing a phenomenal job adding to the mythos. The art teams have just been excellent. Really good, solid character, story, everything. So that's about it. Also, I'm glad you guys have been giving a lot of love to Gray and Palmiotti, who, along with Jeff Johns, I truly feel are the backbone of the DC universe. They're really keeping everything steady and just well written and moving along behind the scenes, and it's a shame they don't get a lot more promotion than they do. Not from you guys, just from DC itself. But, get the word out as you are and keep it up. So thanks a lot, and thanks for all the great episodes.
That's an interesting point he makes. And I know he's not trying to say this, but I've seen it in other forums before, and I've seen it just around the net that people have been saying that the GOG story has been dragging out a bit. And and he's right, I don't feel that at all. It's one of those stories that I feel has had a really nice build. I think it was important that it stretches out the way that it does, because you need to connect with the fact that there are members of the JSA right now who have benefited greatly from GOG, and who would look at GOG in a very different light. There's also philosophically, Hawkman, for example, is one who believes that GOG right now, his stance on war and his aggressive stance on things is the right way to go. It fits his philosophy. But he's almost having a philosophical battle right now with Jay Garrick over this type of thing. And I like that, where we're seeing this team divided based on philosophies. And I'm not really clear who's going to wind up on what side in this. And I like that. It's an interesting situation in that, is he a villain, is he not? Is GOG good, is he evil, is he a gray area? Where does this all fit? How does Magog going to fit into all this? It's really interesting storytelling at the moment, and the build, I think, is important to achieve that. That's the cool part of the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's definitely a long build. It's a long build, but it's a strong build.
Yeah,
this is going to be something that is going to.
That is what he's saying.
Yeah,
I don't want to misrepresent him. He's just making a point.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with him. But it's one of those things where the ramifications of this story arc will be felt throughout the JSA history. Mm-hmm. This is a significant event in JSA history. This isn't just a story arc. This isn't just a bad guy. As you said, we're seeing teammates, going head to head. They're kind of like disagreeing, and I think we're going to see another evolution of the JSA when everything is said and done on this.
Is it that, or is it we need to see the importance of their leader?
Yeah.
Who's currently out of the game.
That too.
What would bring them together? Who could bring them together, and how?
Yeah.
Interesting. And maybe we'll see the strength of leader. I'm just speculating at this point.
Dude, that could definitely be a
Power Girl as a leader from all this. I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah. So I'm loving the story. How do you feel about those specials? We've seen this happen with Sinestro Corps, where all of a sudden we had specials that were released that went along with that. It's very contained within the two Green Lantern books, but then they did these specials that spotlighted certain characters or situations. We're getting I know there's the Kingdom one, there's the Magog one, and I forget what the other one is. But there's 3 different specials that are spinning out of this. I'm assuming you're getting all of them?
Yeah.
I am too.
I got the fanboy tattoo across my head. I saw, okay, yeah.
But I'm excited for them because we've seen this with Sinestro Corps, and they were so good.
And we saw that with Sinestro Corps. We saw that with, with some of the Superman stuff. We saw that with Libra, with the, with the tie-ins to Final Crisis. We saw it back with the Jimmy Olsen stuff and the Commandy, stuff back, back during Countdown. I'm talking, there's anytime you get these little special things, these little side stories, whether it's a passive or it's a current story arc thing.
Okay.
I'm saying I kind of lump those all into the same shelf right now. I look at those as a way to accent the current story. I like those.
And I understand what you're saying to a certain extent, but I look at this as this is original storytelling that's crafted for this particular arc. Whereas with some of those specials, like the Libra one that you're talking about, they took old Justice League stories that showed the original appearance of Libra and put it in there. This is current storytelling that enhances.
Right, yeah.
And
the Sinestro Corps War is a better analogy, but
that's the one
for me, I look at all of these in the same light. That's why when I have these things like the Hawkman special, even before I got into the character, I was pre-ordering that just because I knew
that's a very good
it would shed light onto the Rand Thanagar War. I'm like, that's going to be a little
Adam
extra
Strange
thing.
Special did too.
The Adam Strange special, same thing. I had that ordered as soon as I saw it, just because I knew it would accent the current story. So
you don't have to read it, but enhances.
Yeah, I like knowing the whole story. It's like, and now you know the rest of the story. I like
the
being
Cyborg
Paul
Superman
Harvey.
special was a great example of that, too. You
Yeah.
didn't really need to read it in order to understand Sinestro Corps, but it added a layer to that character's story and made it more tragic. It added to those teardrops, certainly at the end of the story, so that was well worth the investment. I think that's what these Kingdom ones are going to be.
Yeah.
And I have no problem with them doing that. This is a good enough story that it's well worth doing that. So I think this is going to be a special one that's going to be talked about for a long time. So I agree with him. I'm glad he mentioned that one. And I'm glad to see, again, another listener calling in for love for Grand Palmiotti. And in fairness to what he was saying, we haven't talked about him as much as I would have liked to on the show.
And it's not a knock on him. It just, I don't know.
We've been doing a lot more lately with Jonah Hex and things like that. So, yeah, that's interesting.
You filthy criminals.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Cassina from BK's Bullets, back again. Hey, Sean and Jim, what is up? Long time no see, long time no talk. I have 2 Batman-related things today in celebration of The Dark Knight coming out about 5 weeks ago. I mean, being number 1 for like 4 of those weeks. It's awesome, isn't it? I got Batman City of Crime, the trade paperback by David Lapham and art by Ramon Box. And also Tales of the Multiverse Batman Vampire by Doug Munch and art by Kelly Jones. So first I'm going to do Batman City of Crime since it's, I guess, the most recent thing I've read. Summer reading, got caught up with, my new comics, so I just pulled out some trades. City of Crime I've actually been meaning to do a BK's Bullet on for a long time, back when I first read it about a year ago. Just picked it up on a whim, and actually it was more than a year ago. I think it was when this trade first came out. This is the arc in Detective Comics that preceded the 1 year later arc. So as not Final Crisis, but as Infinite Crisis was happening, this is the storyline that was happening in Detective Comics. And it's a really, really well-written storyline. I highly recommend it to everybody. It's written by David Lapham, art by Ramon Box, who is, you might be familiar with him from the Secret Invasion. See, I'm already messing up with all these new events. The Civil War Frontline and the World War Hulk Frontline series that Marvel put out. I don't remember what he's doing currently. Oh, his next project is Marvel Apes. I know that. So he's been busy for quite a while. Batman did some very big things for Marvel. Now he's doing Marvel Apes. I don't know if that's a step down or what, but compared to Batman, I think it is. Anyway, this is a massive trade paperback. It is huge. It's $20, and it's a thick book. The issue numbers, it is Detective Comics 800 to 808, so that's 9 issues right there, and then 811 to 814. So I think it's about 12 issues long, this storyline. It got interrupted in the middle for the war crime storyline, where they went and found Leslie Tompkins in Africa, and kind of gave her a hard time because she faked the death. Spoiler. So that's what the interruption in the issues is. The art in here is just wonderful. The writing is wonderful, and right off, they start off with the book with this short story / kind of poem thing from David Lapham. He does the art on this portion as well. You can just tell looking at this and the series covers that it's basically the same artist. David Lapham, I think Jim, he's doing Young Liars right now. I haven't read any of that stuff, so I can't speak for it, but maybe you could talk a little bit about what that's about. And I know you talked a little bit about on previous shows, but judging from this body of work, these 12 issues right here, he's a writer that I would look into after this because it's such a well-crafted crime noir tale. So actually, this first bit of the trade is my favorite part. This is the only part from Detective Comics 800 because I think the rest of it was something else. But it's just like a short story, and it reads kind of like a poem. Like if you took all the captions in here from all the panels and just put them together, it reads as like a really creepy poem. But it's called In the Dark, and I won't read it to you, but it's just a great little poem. So if you're not convinced about after hearing this about getting this trade or at least checking it out, go to the bookstore, comic store, whatever you get your stuff. Pull this off the shelf and just read the first, it's 8 pages. It's not going to take you very long. It'll give you a sense of David Lapham, how good he is Oh, not even 8. First like 6 pages. You know, it'll give you a good sense of David Lapham and his ability to tell a cool story. And I mean, and even if you don't like it, it'll be a cool poem. You'll be like, oh, cool, I read that. Thanks, man. And then, just put it back on the shelf and walk away. Go to the Batman Vampire trade, because you definitely need to pick that up. Let's get back to Batman City of Crime before we stray here. For the most part, Batman in this story is like kept in the shadows. You rarely ever see his full-figured form. Like the first couple issues, he's just a shadow. The silhouette and the eyes, and it looks awesome. But it starts out, Bruce Wayne goes to a party and meets some underage girl. Batman is investigating some missing young teenager who's pregnant. Apparently there's like a ring of pregnant women and stuff going around. People's significant others are being replaced with body doubles who melt like clay. So basically the main story of this is about this organization called The Body, and they're replacing important people in Gotham City. So there's like a police guy, and I think he's a corrupt cop, and basically he does stuff for The Body, and then they replace his partner of like 15 years. And all of a sudden his partner's family is like, he knows that his partner's family is dead, because they don't replace you because they're bringing you back or anything like that. They replace you to replace you. They kill you and take your form and then go live your life. And the police guy knows that his partner's been replaced because his partner's suddenly acting totally different, and totally creepy. So, and that's later on in the book. But earlier on in the book, you deal with the Penguin, and Ramon Bach just draws a great Penguin, just a great Batman and a great Robin. I just love his artwork. I could look at this all day. So it starts off with this missing girl plotline, and then that leads into like something with Mr. Freeze, the Penguin, and the ring of baby raising rings. There's a big fire that they have to save people from. And so basically the missing girl and the baby ring lead into the same story for Batman. And about midway through the book, Batman goes undercover as Matches Malone in a part of Gotham called not Park Row, but it's basically next to Crime Alley. Yeah, he basically goes undercover as Matches Malone in a place called Crown Point for like almost half of the book. And here's really where it gets interesting. Batman's in like Matches Malone disguise, he's in some other disguise which I won't give away, and you just get to know the players around the neighborhood for like a good whole issue without seeing Batman or Robin. And then when Matches Malone finally shows up, you know who's infiltrating and what this guy's like. You know why he's infiltrating him. You know why he's trying to get to know him. There's some things with Scarface, and Robin and Gordon have to work together on a case. And the Matches Malone thing, I don't even know if they call Matches Malone. They call him something different. Donnie Malloy is the name he's going by. But basically, it's Matches Malone's persona. It's just without the mustache. So this Donnie Malloy persona that Bruce is taking on, or Batman, whichever way you want to look at it, infiltrates Crown Point, like basically the mob there. Even though they're not really a mob, it's just like neighbors looking out for each other, but in a more illegal way. So that's kind of cool. So that leads basically to the whole Body thing, and then once the Body finds out that Batman's looking for him, all hell breaks loose in Gotham, and they come after Batman, and then they come after the guy that Robin's protecting in the hospital, and it all comes together at the very end in a brilliant fashion. And it's just an enjoyable read. It's not a quick read. It's 12 issues, and it's a long 12 issues. Like, you can pick up, Batman Hush and kind of tear through those really quickly, because there's not a whole lot of dialogue or exposition or anything like that. Here, there's, multiple things on every panel, and there's, a lot of panels per page, like almost 9 panels per page on one of these pages. I think that's like the average. And then the story just keeps moving and building, and all these different plot lines come together at the end. Some of them are resolved and some of them aren't. Batman can't save everybody, basically, is what the story's about. And it's about the corruption of Gotham City, and how bad it actually is. That it's not a nice place to live. In some areas. And in some areas, Batman doesn't really have a presence until he actually goes to Crown Point and gives his presence and stuff like that. So it's just a really interesting look and take on Gotham City. I highly recommend it. I loved it the first time around, and I loved reading it the second and third time around. Third time when I recently read it over the summer, a couple weeks back, or a week or two back or so. So definitely check this out. Pick it up. $20. This is not bad money spent. This is good money spent. So just check it out, and at least if you're kind of iffy about it, just read the first 6 pages. Like I said, that poem thing that David Lapham did is worth admission alone. So just check it out, okay? The next trade I got for my birthday, actually, from my brother. Tales of the Multiverse Batman Vampire. This is the story of the Red Rain Batman, basically. I don't know what Earth it is in the new multiverse, but this is the Batman where, he fights Dracula and becomes a vampire himself. So this trade is also $20. But the great thing about this is these three stories, Batman and Dracula Red Rain, Batman Bloodstorm, and Batman Crimson Mist, all came out as original graphic novels from 1991, 1994, and 1999. So you can see the kind of progression of art and coloring in this one book. You can go get those graphic novels if you want the original form. They are at the comic shop. I know my comic shop had a ton of them, at least like 3 of each on their shelves. I think those things are like $10 a piece. So if you were to buy them separately, it'd be like $30 or a little $36. If they're $12, I don't actually remember the price of them. But you can get them all 3 here on the same paper in one form and read the whole story continuously for $20. So right there, that's a great deal. And the second part about this book is it's a great story. I loved reading this. I want to read this again and again and again because it's so cool and it's different. So if you like the Red Rain Batman, the Vampire Batman with the vampire bats, the bat wings or whatever in the Countdown Arena, or if you liked him in that Searching for Ray Palmer special, this is the book, the trade to get everything you need to know about that universe is all right here. There's no Robin or anything like that in it, like in the Search for Ray Palmer special. That was kind of introducing him, but, everything up to that point is in here. At least I think so. I don't know about the history or anything like that, where that special took place, because Batman is basically done at the end of this volume, done for good. So, who knows? Anyway, the first one, Batman vs. Dracula, Batman and Dracula, Red Rain, was released in 1991. Originally, these are all written by Doug Munch and penciled by Kelly Jones. This one's inked by Malcolm Jones III. I don't know why I'm doing this. I never do this. Listening to Raging Bullets too much. You guys go into everyone who's on the book. Look it up yourself, Anyway, this just starts out. Batman is in Gotham City, and people are getting bit, basically. And they're getting their throats slashed, so you can't tell that it's a vampire bite, because after they're done sucking their blood, they kind of drag their teeth along the throat, so it looks like 2 cut marks. And so Batman's, hunting this killer and comes across a couple vampires, and then finally figures out it's a vampire and has some weird premonition dreams where a vampire comes to him, and then all of a sudden he gets like super strength and these weird abilities, and then you find out that Dracula is in town, basically, and this vampire girl has actually given Batman some strength, like her super strength, just by kissing him or giving him like a blood transfusion from her own blood. Her name is Tanya, and she's a vampire herself, but she's overcome the bloodlust, the thirst, basically, is what they call it in the Blade comics and movies and stuff. So they fight Dracula. Dracula's defeated, but at the end of the book, Batman sprouts vampire wings to fight Dracula. He's pretty much a vampire. He's got the fangs, he's got the wings, and he's got some different abilities, super strength and all that. And the great part about these specials here is that they're 96 pages each. That is huge. I mean, they're not skimpy. They're not 48 pages or 56 pages. 96 pages, that's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 issues or something like that. I mean, this is a humongous trade. So there's 96 pages, each graphic novel, each chapter, basically, and there's 3 of them. So 96 times 3 is a good amount of story, especially for $20. The second one, Batman Bloodstorm, released in 1994, again written by Doug Munch and penciled by Kelly Jones, who is currently doing the Gotham After Midnight miniseries with Steve Niles. I haven't read any of that. I don't know if you guys have, but if the artwork is anything like what's in here, I'm definitely going to pick it up and trade, because I love Kelly Jones. And if you're not familiar with the name Kelly Jones, he is the artist who draws the Batman with the 3-foot-long ears, basically. And he did all of the Nightfall covers and the Night Quest covers of Batman. He also had a pretty long run on it. I think it was like Batman or Detective Comics as an artist with Doug Munch in regular Batman continuity. Probably after these things came out. But Batman Bloodstorm sees Vampire Batman basically fighting crime in Gotham and killing a whole bunch of vampires that are left over from the Dracula fight. the Joker gets involved and starts his own vampire gang, and they start taking out mobsters, and eventually the mobsters become vampires, and it's a whole infestation. So Batman has to overcome the bloodthirst. He's still having premonitions of Tanya, the girl who helped him out in the first installment, and just the emotion here and the struggle for Batman. It's a huge struggle just to overcome this bloodthirst. And the way he takes care of the Joker, like if you've ever said Batman needs to just kill the Joker, he's killed too many people, then you definitely need to read this book, because it, like, when Batman actually faces the Joker at the very end, it's a very, like, gut-wrenching scene. I won't spoil it for anyone because that's part of it, but the emotion that comes across here and just the agony and anger in Batman is something that I never thought I would read in a Batman comic, and it's just great. Also, what's really cool in this installment, you know, Batman kills the vampires with these wooden stakes. But these wooden stakes, like any Batman thing, are shaped like bats, you know? Like they look like wooden daggers, but the hilt has like the bat ears on it, and then the T part, I don't know what it's called, but looks like bat wings. It's really cool. So he throws these things and stabs them into guys, and you know, once you do that, that just immobilizes the vampire. You have to actually finish him by chopping off his head, so he carries an axe around. I mean, this is like the most badass Batman you've ever seen. And technically, he's not killing people because their vampires are already dead. So, you know, that kind of passes that whole thing. But they do discuss it a little bit in the trade. I don't remember exactly where. Also, what's interesting is that Catwoman is introduced in this installment. Kind of different than what you'd think. She gets bitten by one of the vampires who is in like his wolf form. So she gets bitten basically by like a werewolf vampire or something. Then her cats go home and lick her, kind of like in Batman Returns. And then she turns into a werecat once a month. What's really interesting is that to overcome his thirst for blood, Batman seeks out this like mystic girl who was also in the first installment and asks her how to do this, and she says something about, you know, a true woman's like true love from a woman will help overcome the bloodthirst. So him and Selina kind of forge a connection, and something really tragic happens to Selina at the end of the book. It's just like, you know, this Batman cannot get a break. So that's pretty much that one. I don't want to spoil it because I want you guys to go read it. I mean, seriously, this is a great book. I love this A+ for this book. The third one is Batman Crimson Mist, and basically it is Batman going insane, going berserk, going nuts. He succumbs to his bloodlust. This one was released in, 97, 99? Yeah, 1999, so, you know, pretty recently. It's this book, you know, when you're flipping through it, look at the coloring from 1991 to 94, and they're kind of the same. It almost looks like a watercolor painting on each page. And then when you get to the last installment, it's definitely the new computer coloring, and it kind of makes it jump apart from the other ones. And the blacks are actually consistent in this section. Like the first two, you'd get a picture of Batman, and there'd be two different shades of black on them. And it wouldn't be on purpose, it's just the way it's printed or something like that, or the paper, or the old color tones or something like that. And that's the only color in here that's inconsistent, is the black. So like, if you have a panel with a bunch of black on it, chances are you're going to get two different tones, and it kind of throws you off from the art a little bit, but not a whole lot. But all that's resolved when they get to the computer coloring in the last section. So Crimson Mist is Batman the vampire basically going berserk. All the new Gotham villains are here. Scarecrow, Killer Croc is in here, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, and Batman takes him down by the only way he knows how, which is, you know, basically sucking their blood and killing them. So it's up to Gordon and Alfred to stop Batman, and they have to team up with some villains to do it. And then, you know, everything's resolved at the end. Batman finally gets his rest in peace. Get it? Rest in peace, like the new thing. Anyway, it's just a great resolution to the storyline. And the best thing about reading these back-to-back in this 300-page book here is that each story references the previous one, but not in a way that you'd get confused by it. Like, if you just picked up the middle one and read it, you'd be totally fine. If you just picked up the end one and read it, you'd be totally fine. All you need to know is Batman is a vampire now, and this is what's happening now with Batman. It just kind of references things, so each thing is self-contained in a way, but if you're reading them back-to-back, it really makes for a great story. And to me, I'd love to see this become the next DC animated feature, rather than Dark Knight Returns. You know, don't butcher something that is so great. Like, I really felt New Frontier was a letdown. I mean, you can hear some other comments on Comic Timing and Geeks Unite. I think it did a rant on there about how bad that was, in my opinion. And I think Norge talked to him about that in one of the comment sections and stuff like that. But yeah, like I think this one or two of these would make a great story. Maybe the middle one where he's fighting the Joker and stuff like that. Be a great PG-13 cartoon. All the blood and killing vampires and stuff. And this is something that, you can adapt pretty easily because it's all here. I don't feel that there's so much stuff in here like there was in New Frontier. With the New Frontier, I think the problem with that was it had too many storylines. This is one story, one storyline. It's all here. If they want to cut stuff out, it's fine. The story's not going to suffer because it's a strong story within itself, and it doesn't rely on, mini storylines like New Frontier did. So this would be a great animated feature for DC, and it's an even better read. So go pick this up. Definitely, if you haven't already. Jim, I know you take my recommendations seriously. Pick up Batman Vampire first, then get City of Crime if you haven't already. But you need to finish reading American Virgin and Why before you read these. Sean, don't let him get these until he finishes those things, because he needs to finish them, and you guys know why. The listeners, you don't need to know yet. It's good seeing you guys again, or talking to you guys again. Hopefully get to see you sometime. Thanks for giving me the time, and I love doing these things, and I'll talk to you guys soon, hopefully. And Blue Beetle, guys, come on. The readers want to hear about it. Let's go. Alright? I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.
Now, you've actually read before the Red Rain stuff and all that,
Yeah, so
right?
Sean, don't let Jim read it. Yeah. Too late, buddy.
Yeah. You read that when it
I read it when it came out.
You're a big vampire fan.
Yeah, I'm a huge vampire fan, and the the funny story with Red Rain was, I think I've told this before, so I'll tell it again. I was at the local comic shop, and that was during college, and I saw it on the shelf, and I grabbed the last copy of it right before my buddy, who actually kind of introduced me to some of the DC comics, had a chance to grab it, and he's just like, "Oh, you grabbed the last one," and the shop didn't have it, so I used to.
Did you get the hardcover then? The original hardcover from 91?
Yeah, I got the original. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's so I used to laugh and joke with him and just taunt it with him, saying, I have it, you don't, and so.
Yeah, this was released as 96-page storylines. This was released as a hardcover originally, Red Rain.
And these were cool releases,
Yeah, it was 3 different, it was like a trilogy. It was, so that's what you're getting here in this collected edition, which is great. I was checking, actually, it is at In-Stock Trades. It's Tales of the Multiverse, the Batman Vampire Tales. Regularly $19.99, only $12.59. So for anybody looking for it, you can get it even cheaper at that price. And they also have City of Crime, which David Lapham, not only is he doing Young Liars, which we've talked about before, but he's also doing Stray Bullets. Well, he also did Stray Bullets. He's known for, that's his creator-owned series as well. Regularly $19.99, also $12.59. And that was an interesting release when City of Crime came out, because it was so hyped up, and I was really excited because David Lapham, Batman, it's just a great fit. And I remember the original issues, there was that break in the middle because of war crimes. There was the big event, and they included the book in there, and it became like a breaking of the acts at that point as the series was coming out. Did you read War Crimes or any of that? I don't know where you're... Well, I'm trying to remember when you started reading.
I have War Crimes, but I haven't read it, because that was the thing where I was going back through all my Robins, and I saw this big event, War Crimes, so I started getting all the individual issues of the Nightwing, of Catwoman, Batman, the different Bat titles, and so I have all the events, and then after I spent multiple cons, and because I picked most of it up at the Dayton Con, then finished it up I think at Chicago and whatnot, but once I'd spent multiple cons going through that, you're like, you could have just picked up the trade. Really? No! So, so it was one of those things where I have everything, but I haven't actually sat down and read it, which I should.
Right.
And part of me thinks I'll probably pick up the trade and read it that way, and so.
Well, you wanted the single issues to have a complete single issue run of Robin, right?
Well, yeah.
So that would have happened either way.
Yeah, but if I would have thought about it, I wouldn't have gone out and bought those other Batmans and the Nightwings.
You just bought the Robin issues.
I just had the Robins,
right.
But yeah.
Well, now when you get all the Batman issues,
you
can add that in there.
No, I'm not going to do that, man.
Yeah. Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Because do you have singles of Batman?
I do have some singles of Batman, and I have some trades of Batman, but there's too much. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, no, they're not. But they are in the same section.
But I mean, you have trades of Batman and singles.
Yeah.
Doesn't that make your box weird?
Shut up. Dude, man, there's like over 700 issues of Batman. I'm not going to do that.
Well, but really, when you think about it, if you've been reading some of them, you actually have to get less than 700 of them.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
You don't have to get 700.
I'm not going to do that.
Because you've got some already, right?
I'm not going to do that for Batman and for the Superman stuff. No. I'm accepting the mixing for those two.
How many years have you been collecting Batman? I mean, you've probably
for a couple years now.
Right, so you've got at least well over 24 issues of Batman. Yeah. So it's really less than 700.
La 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 la. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Number one, buddy. You're number one.
And have you read American version?
Yes, I have.
So you're all read up for that.
I am completely
What
read.
about Y? Are you done with Y?
I'm not done with Y, but I don't have all the... Has all the trades come out? Because that's...
all of Y's trades are out.
Okay, then I have to get the
because I believe it was 10.
Trades.
I believe there's a 10th one. I've got the singles, so I don't know for sure. But I thought the 10th one was the last one. I think. But I know it is all collected. So forget my question mark as far as whether or not what trade it ends on. It has been all collected because I saw in DCB Service when they were soliciting it. But I have the singles of Y. It's a good series, really good. Which one are you on? Do you know?
I don't remember right off the top of my head. I got to look and see what I've read and what number.
That's hard when you jump on a series late because if you're going back and you're trying to keep up with the monthlies and you're trying to reread, that's hard to do. So yeah, we'll get to that sometime soon. Yeah, Blue Beetle I want to do, so we should do that
big
at some
time.
point.
We both love the
month.
series.
Let's plan in October. We'll say in October we're going to get to Blue Beetle.
All right.
Because we've got so much going on right now.
Holy hole in a donut.
Jim, our next episode, we'll chat Ambush Bug Year None. We're going to have a special guest, our good friend Chad Burdett, who actually, every time he comes through Ohio, he gives me a call or shoots me a PM, and he stopped by our house a couple of times. So we have a funny story relating to that we'll chat about then. So that'll be funny. So he'll be coming over. We're going to be chatting about... You want to chat some of the Final Crisis stuff?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, so we'll start chatting about the Final Crisis tie-ins. For sure, let's do Superman Beyond 3D. And the first issue of Legion of Three Worlds.
Yeah.
We'll try to get to more of them on that episode. If we don't, we'll bump the rest of them till next week. So I want to do Revelations, The Last Will and Testament. So let's do those things as well, because we've talked briefly Rogue's Revenge, but maybe we'll do the second issue of that too. Let's do, over the next couple weeks, let's do single issues, the most recent releases of each of the Final Crisis tie-ins. So we'll start next week. Whatever we don't get to next week, we'll bump to the following week, and we'll get all those in and just chat about the most recent issue of them, how we're feeling about those minis and that type of thing, and just kind of celebrate those. We got Top Bullets next week for sure. So that's what I'm saying. We'll probably bump some of that to the following week. We'll do some Trinity, which we'll spend the next couple weeks chatting about Trinity as well. So we got a few things that we'll chat about. More listener voicemails. What we're going to do with voicemails is any of the voicemails that we don't get into the show, just because Jim and I have to eventually stop. Right now it's 10:49 for us, and both of us are working tomorrow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up this episode because I have to put it out tomorrow night. And any of the listener voicemails that I don't get to that I'm able to, I'm going to include on the blooper reel at the end. So instead of us at the end with the blooper reel, we'll get the listeners with their comments and their commentary and things like that and get them on the show. That way you can hear their comments and what they're talking about. So the voicemails we'll be scattering within the show. We'll comment on as many as we can, and then the rest we'll get on the end of the show so you can hear some other thoughts on comics and commentary because we love your participation. So thank you for participating in the voicemail. Once again, that's 1-440-388-4434. And Jim, our sponsor for this episode, DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Young Liars Volume 1, Daydream Believer. Special discount on that one. It's the first collection of this series. 144 pages, only $4.99. It's regularly $9.99. It's 50% off. That's a great price to jump on that. DC Library, Superman Kryptonite Nevermore hardcover, collecting the stories by Denny O'Neil, Kurt Swan, Superman 233 to 238, 240 to 242. No more Kryptonite. Regularly $39.99. Only $19.99 with a 50% off discount. We had to do that 3 times.
Outstanding.
And I kept making the same mistake. I was saying, regularly $19.99 with the discount is $39.99. You pay more! Whatever your shipping preferences, bag and boarding preferences, DCBService.com accommodates your collecting needs. This is exactly why, once it hits about 10:45, 10:50...
we need to stop.
Yeah, because I start, fumbling through things. Don't forget our In-Stock Trades book of the month for September is... 7 Soldiers of Victory, Volume 3. Jim, we're going to do it. We're going to do it.
We're going to finish all of 7 Soldiers
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is it. Regularly $14.99. They're supporting us with a 47% off discount, only $7.94. Secret Six, we love it. We love the new series. If you missed the original mini, Secret Six, 6 Degrees of Devastation trade paperback. Regularly $14.99, 37% off, only $9.44 for the whole 6-issue series. And that's a wonderful series, so definitely pick that one up. InStockTrades.com is your source for your collected edition needs. Thanks for supporting us, both DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. And hope you guys like the voicemail feature on this. We're trying to just... You guys, having you in the show is really important to us, so we're trying to come up with ways, easy ways that we can include you in the amount of time it takes for us to prep the show, because this was a crazy week to prepare. You did it. It was a massive undertaking. You know what it's like for me to do Seven Soldiers now.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because Uncle Sam had that same kind of meaty... I'm glad we got to do these, though. This was really cool, and thanks to D. Goodhart from the forums for the suggestion, because this really was a good choice. Jim and I will be back next week with a whole bunch of stuff as usual, and more from you guys.
Bye.
Hey, Sean and Jim, it's me, Ziggle from the forums. Just thought I'd test out the voicemail, see how you guys doing. First off, the comment I would like to leave is keep up the amazing work with Raging Bullets. Seriously, I don't know if you guys know, but it's the podcast that got me into podcasting, and you guys do such an amazing job with DC comic titles, and seriously, it's just the one podcast that's like on the top of my list every time I listen to stuff. Just a suggestion, not a suggestion, more like a request. I was wondering if you guys can do some reviews on Booster Gold or any of the Green Lantern titles, whether it's the Green Lantern Corps or the regular Green Lantern titles, because seriously, Booster Gold, since it came out, it's been a book I've been enjoying since day one, and I really would love to hear your opinion on it, whether it's like the first arc or what's going on now or anything, because it's just an amazing book, and you guys haven't touched on it yet. So yeah, other than that, keep up the amazing job, guys. I'll see you around the forums. Bye.
Hey, Sean and Jim, it's Jim Dietz, Yoda Jones on the forums from Pittsburgh and Gypsy Cafe. How you guys doing? Just wanted to shout out to your new voicemail line. Say hey, hope you guys had a good super show. And the comic I would like to shout out this week would be the DC trades for Welcome to Tranquility. I know I'm a little late to the game, and I know it's Gail Simone, so I should have known better. But I really am enjoying this trade quite a bit. It's kind of Astro City turned on its ear. And I'm really enjoying it a lot. I really like what's going with it. Just wanted to shout out to you guys. Like I said, I'll be at a good super show, and hope to see you soon. Bye.
Hey, Sean and Jim. This is the great Mr. Chibi from the forums. I am literally moments out from my local comic book shop, and I've just read Trinity number 15, Booster Gold number 12, and Wonder Woman 24, and I'd like to give you a few of my thoughts on them. Booster Gold 12 is fantastic. I loved how it continued off from the last issue. It's a great two-parter, wonderful for a new reader like me. It was a great story that played around with some commonly known things about the Batman mythos, but without diving too heavily into any one topic. Trinity 15 is amazing. I laughed, I cheered. There are a whole lot of awesome action moments. I can't recommend it enough. Wonder Woman 24, I was hoping it would be a good jump-on point for me as the new storyline. But the storytelling just got a little too weird towards the end. I couldn't quite grasp it. So Bernard Chang's artwork and Gail Simone's writing were high quality. I hope that maybe in the next couple issues, a little more of the story will be fleshed out and I can get more into it. Also, I'd just like to thank you guys so much. Like I said, I'm sitting right outside my local comic book shop, and the only reason I'm here is because of your podcast. It's what's really gotten me into comics again, and I'm really thankful for it. Okay, well, I hope that this works on your whole voice messaging thing, and I can't wait for the next episode. Listen to you guys soon.
Hey, Sean and Jim, this is Rick Croxton, the Pulp Reader from the forums, calling you from the Mysterious Book Cave. I'm here to mention a good Book of the Month club. It came out 3000, one of DC Comics' first maxi-series from the 1980s. It has King Arthur in the future of the year 3000 battling bug-eyed monsters. Well Worth the Reading by Mike W. Barr and Brian Boland. Thank you. This is Rick Croxton signing off from the Book Cave. Bye.